my Raise crew just decided to hop in and start hearing your voice.
But this can be good practice. I just need to relax. Treat it like a normal voice call.
Kills. I don't think anyone.
Just don't remember that we're live. We're just talking to each other.
Yeah, just imagine that you're still, what is it?
Strat talk.
Hello.
Strat talking, yeah. Kimchi!
Kimmy!
How are you?
Hey, Kimchi.
Hi, Mick. Hi, Kills. Hi, Minorai.
Me and Mick are acting cool, but in the inside, we're actually trying to hold it together because she's gonna stream it on Twitch.
It's already is right now.
Is it really
It'll be
on Twitch?
fine. I'm just gonna be cooking in the background.
Wait, so it's already on Twitch?
Yes.
Oh.
Wait. I don't know.
If you want to bail, you can mute yourself.
Wait, let me go on your stream.
Well.
Oh, my computer keyboard is so far.
I see a Kills and a Mick in the screen.
Gosh, you guys. Can't believe this.
Oh my goodness, I see it. Ew, that was my point.
Oh, there it is. Dusty better be on time. He's got 5 minutes.
Actually, let me BRB real quick. So I can be on time because we still have 5 minutes. Okay, that's good.
Should I pull up my maps just in case if we're talking? Or do you think Dusty will, like, not need it?
I don't know.
You don't know? Gosh.
Let me BRB so I can come back on time.
Hurry, run!
I'm going.
Well, I'm gonna mute myself so there's not a lot of background noise.
You're gonna mute yourself? Jeez. I'll let this one continue streaming, so you might have to adjust my audio just in case if it's too loud.
And it's a little bit loud, yeah.
But I do have it looks like they're kind of skips
Yeah.
I caught the one with the top 4. Obviously you can see a handful of Lethal? Hi, Lethal! Dusty.
There he is.
Hello.
Dusty, hurry up, it's pretty loud. It's on 50! It's on 50! I have to hear. Anyways, yeah. Dusty,
are you guys already
put
watching?
up your screen so they don't have to complain about my audio.
Okay. Yeah, welcome. I'm excited to be here, and everyone is. Thank you.
I'm not sure if anyone could hear my clapping.
I heard it.
Nice.
All right, so first I have to actually pull up the relevant videos and figure out if that works.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the streaming setup to you, and I'm just going to do my thing and just go for my end. But let me just confirm to make sure things work as intended first. So let me... first I have to disconnect from watching your screen. How do I do that? This button. Okay, do I just pretty much start from the first link and then go to the second link and then a third link, or what's the story here?
The first, it's in chronological order. So,
Okay, so
basically, if you click the first one, that'll start from 400 with you, me, Nick, and Reiko.
Okay, is this the 4 hour long video or 3 hour 40 minute?
That's the 4 hour long, all the way to 400 to 999. But there could be some interesting waves. Do you want me to link the stat ink so you could kind of like browse like certain waves and such, or do you think that you could find by yourself?
I'm not going to look at the stats mainly. I'm going to focus mainly on the video gameplay. The stats was
I was
secondary.
talking about the stat ink so you could find like the wave types.
I'm not too concerned about the high score specifically. If we run into it, then sure. But if there is like a specific time period, when we find it, we'll talk about it, because I want to cover pretty much as possible and not just focus on the ways we did well in. I want to talk about the ways we also possibly didn't do well in to see what could have been done differently. Those are the waves that typically sees the most improvement out of all of them.
Yeah,
So
I understand, but we've played this like 10 hours or even more, so I don't think we'll be able to watch everything.
yeah, I don't think. No, I agree. So I guess let's see how it unfolds, and then we'll skip around to like what you said, the higher scoring waves. I also don't have the timestamps for those, so
Yeah, I brought up notify me if you want to check on a specific shift, and I could recheck that.
okay.
Actually, wait. Let me type on the stream if someone's like interested in seeing a certain shift. Hold on.
All right. While you're doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and start sharing my screen and just jump into it to not waste any time.
Let me configure any of that, and that'll be fine.
Okay, so first off, let me see if this actually works. So first I have to share my screen. I hope it's this. Is it this one? Hold on. Yeah, I believe it's this one. Okay.
I'll
All right, let me know if you can see this.
I can see it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Fox. This is going to be a review.
Okay, and then let me know also if you can see can you capture the screen that I'm sharing? Oh shoot, hold on. Gotta cross the side.
Hold on. Are you pulling up your screen? Let me stop streaming.
Oh shoot, I should probably open these in separate browsers. Give me a sec. I'm gonna stop the stream for a second.
Hold on. I gotta.
Okay.
Just tell me when you pull it up.
Yeah, sorry, give me a sec. I'm gonna open your videos in a separate browser, and I'm just gonna capture that browser instead. It'll be easier. Shoutouts to having more than 2 monitors. By more than 2 monitors, I mean only 2 monitors, but shoutouts to having 2 monitors. They are a lifesaver when it comes to productivity. Okay, I believe it's this one. All right, now try watching.
Oh, Dusty, are you opening the stream chat so you could check?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to set up. I'm not going to really be reading too much of the chat. I'm going to mostly be focusing on it. Then I'll open it up to questions. But just keep in mind, I'm going to try to move forward at a certain pace to not get too stuck. I'm basically going to try to avoid getting too stuck on any certain scenario, because at the end of the day, keep in mind, this is only my analysis of what I see. And B, it already happened. There's not much we can do to change it.
The only thing we can do is review.
And finally, my third advice is don't just take my advice with a grain of salt when I'm analyzing these because this is just my biased opinion. I always recommend getting multiple feedback from other people, especially ones that aren't here today, just so if you catch any trends that we may be hinting towards, then maybe we have a point in that regard, if that makes any sense. Because at the end of the day, it's going to sound biased because I'm here trying to convince you guys my side of the coin is right, so to speak. So just keep that in mind. So just as a very big disclosure, be warned about that. Otherwise, buckle up, sit down, and let's get started. So, okay, so first off, are you able to see the screen share? Because I don't see
Hold
it
on. I had
on your
to
stream.
I had to set it all up.
I'm trying to make it work.
Window capture 2.
Yeah.
Voila.
I want to move this to the side. Okay, there we go. Also, my volume is muted right now, so that's actually correct right now. I just want to make sure you guys can see it.
It
And
should be,
it's capturing
it should
properly?
be streaming properly.
Okay, I'm also double checking on your end too, just to make sure things look okay. And for the most part, it looks fine. But I'm going to unmute it and play something with audio.
Okay, I get the audio.
Okay. Everyone else?
Don't forget to enable the volume of the stream.
Yeah, I turned it on now. I want to just make sure you guys can hear it on my end.
If it's not up, then I'll probably have to raise up your volume then.
Yeah, I already maxed it on my end. So if there must be, you probably have to balance the sound on your like double capture on your end.
Are you doing like applications, so not screen share? If you're doing a screen share, it won't capture the audio.
What do you mean?
Like before, I captured it directly from my MPC file, so I could do the audio. But right now it doesn't look like that you enabled the audio via Discord.
So is the stream able to hear me is what I'm asking, or are you able to hear me? Because people report that they can hear me right now, but what about people?
We can hear you, Dusty, but make sure.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah.
Okay, what about, so Mina's stream cannot hear it.
Okay.
I'm not watching the stream, so
Let me see. I have the stream open.
the Twitch stream, I mean.
Talk,
Okay.
Dusty.
Hi. I'll just leave some things running here so we can
No.
see if audio's
I
playing.
can hear your voice on stream.
What about the gameplay? Also nice, you started the game with 3 and you pulled Nova immediately.
Yeah, Dusty,
I don't even know if it's the same
they don't hear
Nova.
the
I don't know
audio.
that.
They don't hear the audio. Are you streaming it by screens or applications?
I'm sharing it by application.
We can't hear it.
You can't?
The game audio is not being heard, even though that you enabled it.
Alright, let me try restarting it. Let me see if that solves anything. Be right back.
Wait, Mick, how long can you stay up before you pass out?
No idea yet. I
Mick,
try
we
for
told you to take a nap before this.
I try for
Even
an
so,
hour
it's
at
only
least.
going to be for 20 minutes.
Okay, you can hear me. Testing 1, 2, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
What about now? You can see the router. So now I'm gonna, let me just see if the audio works here.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, what about in stream?
I
That's the
can't-
biggest
I
question.
I'm not sure about this
Wait,
thing.
you could hear the audio, but not me.
They say no.
Wait, you could hear the audio stream, but not me. So it's on my end then. Probably not hearing it.
Okay, so before we jump in, let me just.
Wait.
Yeah, same thing for me.
Okay, Dusty, try now. It might be my settings. There we go.
Oh, so it's something. All right, do we take a step back then?
Sweet.
Oh snap! It's working.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Done.
Excuse my language. Hey, don't say that.
All right, so since this is a 3-player shift, I'm going to try to focus mostly on that and try to ignore the fact that that is not the real Nova. So, just as a reminder, this is 4 random weapons, 25% chance to roll the G-Charger out of every independent roll. It looks like this is just the start of the rotation with you guys that are playing right now.
Many weapons possible. Kind of like fire. Very easy. Is my audio okay now? I just did the game audio. It's kind of low now.
I think game audio is still a bit loud.
If it's too loud, I can turn my end down just because I maxed it out on purpose. Alright, I turned it down a little bit on my end. Don't touch your end, because if yours voice is getting overshadowed by the game, I can change it on my end.
Oh, I see. Brian.
What about now?
Hey, it's high tide dynamo. You could farm on exactly where the salmon is.
I'm mostly troubleshooting stuff now, so I'm not focusing too much on the gameplay because there's not much to analyze because A is not max hazard and B, I mean, I did see some stuff already I can talk about. It's a lot of minor stuff actually, and just in terms of gameplay. But I'll back up a bit. I just want to make sure the audio and everything is good to go first before we jump right in, so we don't have to get worried about that afterwards.
I shared it with a handful of my friends. I'll try to keep raising mine. I guess this part will be kind of like the test stream.
We need someone to monitor tech support if Mina's streaming this call or something and check in to see if the audio balance is good.
Alright.
Mina, I don't want you to do it just because you're already worrying about enough. Just let someone tell you if it's too much or too little and adjust that way.
Sure.
Or if you know how to troubleshoot it, then feel free to. But it just sounds like right now it's just
Oh, really?
There's a lot more confusion as a result. Seems like you're trying to do too much, basically.
Alright. Well, the mic isn't that good, so it's at least something.
The mic is.
It's still a bit hard to
Oh,
understand
really?
you,
Hold on.
unfortunately.
Is this the right way to put on the headphones?
For me, I'm able to hear Mina just fine.
Yeah, same here. I'm okay on my end.
Oh. Which are you talking about the beginning part of Wave 3?
Well, right now we're just making sure the audio balance is okay. Like I'm not even really paying attention to like what's going on. I'm just kind of playing up videos right now. Like I'm sure we'll all have our concerns with the gameplay once we really get into it. But for now, we'll worry about that later. Sure things are good to go before anything. Nice. Okay, if it's good here, then I'm going to rewind and just cover the first wave, just briefly, and then I'm going to skip ahead to the section where it begins when we start playing together.
I'm fine with that.
And just a disclaimer, this is all blind analysis. I have not looked at any of these videos until right now, so everything right now is live feedback of what I see.
But you still kind of remember like your mindset of the game if you at least see.
Maybe it's in pieces here and there, but honestly, a lot of things just I tend to move forward very quickly. So unless I remember at a specific moment it's memorable, I probably will not be able to recall a lot of things. This is just a disclaimer.
Since
Okay, let's take a step back for a moment.
Alright, since it's my POV, I should be able to remember my mindset off the bat.
Yeah, that's true.
Requested.
Alright, so here's the start of the wave. General thing about the start of the wave, and this goes for especially for Arc, there are two specific walls you should always be 100% painting, regardless of the tide. Especially when it's high, you should immediately make your way to the side walls on the right side and left side. And I'll talk about that in a bit once we start covering our gameplay. But that's the very first thing I noticed, especially in groups that no one ever does. And it's such a big deal when it comes to maneuverability because the majority of you already should know that riding rails tends to be slower than climbing walls. And you want to maximize your speed output. Paint the walls before the wave starts will help you get the most mileage out of that. So something to keep in mind, I have usually 3 walls I check on the spot before the wave even begins to ensure that before the wave starts, those are the ones that are covered. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. You'll see it come more into play as we play together. You'll see like that's the very first thing I do. I go in here, you see that we keep getting the spawns going on here, and I know as a charger you tend to play much more far back compared to like me where I was just deep diving in right into the eggs to try to get them. So that's more of a play style preference, I'd say, at the end of the day. While it's not technically a killer, you want to like try to sneak in opportunities where you can just kind of get an egg, especially when there are no Cohocks available around. Like I said, that's one of those very minor things that almost won't really come into play at this current stage. So this is something to keep in mind. Anyway, like I said, there's not much to really talk about it. There's a lot of minor stuff at the end of the day that really adds up. So I'm going to just fast forward now to skip to the interesting bits. I don't know if it's in this video.
Jay said, do you try to make a conscious effort to run or consider running every egg that spawns?
My general rule of thumb when it comes to egg is you're effectively egg guarding every single egg in the game. across the board. You're keeping mental timers of when the snatchers spawn, and you're doing effective snatcher management. And I'll talk more about that when we play together, because you'll see that come into play. Especially, you should be effectively egg guarding every single egg, is what I'm trying to tell you. That goes even for fly fish and stinger eggs. And you have to kind of tell yourself, okay, how long does it take to get to this egg, and how long does it take to run back this egg as well? And if someone helps me, can we cut that down and whatnot? So it's something to really keep in mind when it comes to how to push the egg scores, especially past the 40 realm, into like the 50 realm on any wave type. So you'll see that come into play. In the meantime, I'm going to try to find the timestamp where 4 of you guys started playing, and let me see if I can find it.
Hello. If I remember correctly, the distance from the spawn, the distance from like the spawn points to basket for normal tide and low tide is about 5 seconds. When opposed to high tide, it cuts down to about 2 seconds, like 1 to 2 seconds. It's like a huge dispatcher.
Honestly, for me, when I run eggs, I don't even try memorizing how long it takes to run an egg. You can do that, but ultimately, if you try to memorize every single egg, you're gonna go crazy trying to memorize every single time span. Like, by all means, if you have the mental capacity or study to do that, feel free to. But at the end, I think it's more efficient to be running in groups, because that really helps manage the far eggs. And you'll see that a lot where teams split up with 3 ones, like 3 people and 1 person at basket, to maximize especially the starting eggs a lot. So here I'm going to cover 1 or 2 shifts with Renko, and then I'll start with our shift, and then maybe switch it around a little bit to kind of compare the gameplay, because I think that will be a more effective way to kind of gauge what's going on. So here you can see again what I talked about. No one's painting any of the important walls at the beginning of the wave, and you'll see that really become like very problematic in the long run.
That one, right?
It's not that one. The wall that you guys just climbed behind Mina, that's the 3rd wall I prioritize that I look out for. The other 2 walls that I look out for will be, I'll tell you when I see it. I really don't know how the game flows too well to be able to explain properly.
Oh, speaking of prep, which position do you often like to station at? Sometimes I go. There could be positions that are good to get the first advantage, but there could be also positions that are good to get the first steel eel aggro.
Also, pro tip for Blaster, don't jump shot after every shot like what you're doing. It leads to inaccurate shots. You should get out of the habit to jump after you come out of the ink every single time. As you can see, it's a very horrible PvP habit, because I know everyone does it in PvP just because it'll make you harder to hit. But you should never jump out of ink when firing.
One, so... And I still get that a bit. That's very bad at it.
Also, tip about fog in general, every single Goldie should be prioritized to be pulled. You should never try to get the Goldie to backtrace the way they came, if possible, or worse yet, fall down the cliff. Sometimes that's something that people may not even realize because they want to go after a stinger or fly fish. The timing of disabling those threats is very difficult because it comes with experience to know whether you should go for it or not. But in fog, my general rule of thumb is never go for a far threat. If you have car or maw on you, and it's double special when you have Goldie. Because think of it this way: their attacks are based in cycles anyway, with an average interval of about 7 or 8 seconds. So unless you can dispatch them immediately, they're going to get a cycle off anyway. So there's little reason to immediately be dealing with the threat. You're better off going back, bringing them maw for 3 eggs or car, and then letting someone else that sees the fish go deal with it. There's something to keep that in mind. Nice.
Don't you comment about that? Sometimes on the time of the boss shift, I often like to dart around and see where the lesser salmonids are coming at. Usually I don't have to look for the exact boss salmonid, but as long as I see where the lesser salmonid is popping out, I know which area to look over.
Okay, I'm going to pause here for a moment and just bring a couple of questions to light what happened in this wave. So first off, there was an instance here when you returned back to the shore after you came over here. And I kind of question why you did that. Like here, you decided to go back to the shore here.
I believe.
And then you left. And then you just immediately left, and then you effectively just wasted about 10 seconds going here for no reason.
I believe I was trying to go for that 5 fish, but it looks like that it kind of messed up because of the mall aggro.
So that's the thing about the other thing too. You were going for a fly fish. Like my initial thought process was when you would go out there, I saw 2 eggs. And then I was like, okay, you're going to go for the eggs, but then you didn't even do that. You were just prioritizing the fly fish, and then you just left afterwards, come back empty-handed. So that's another thing you want to be careful of is if you're going to go away from the basket, make sure you always come back with an egg if you do that, rather than just deal with a far threat and then not come back. Sometimes if you get bad spawns, it's better to just stay and deal with the far threats. Like I understand that. Like I said, this is a very dynamic game. There's no textbook answer in terms of what you need to be doing at XYZ moment. But general rule of thumb is if you're going to go out, come back not empty-handed. Plus the +1 every single time you go out is very nice to have at your disposal. So this is something to keep in mind. Like just taking is there like a -15 second feature in Twitch? Or do I have to manually click back every time? Alright, I'll just manually click back. It's not a big deal, but just wondering. So let's take a look at it again. Okay, so here you went back out to deal with the stinger, which is understandable. That's a good move. Grab an egg, and then you left. Now here, you already know mentally that there are 2 eggs out there. We see that too. You can see there's a snatcher on a timer in your head to go. Use arrow keys to skip 10 seconds. Okay, that's good to know. So here you go back for the eggs, right? Which is understandable. I was thinking you were going to go left, but then you didn't. Either because of the mall, you decided not to, or something else. But you decided to just leave. And personally for me, I would have even not gone back to begin with because there were already at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eggs at the basket that's about to become 11 from that mall. So there's little reason to try to go out to try to push an egg if there's that many left, unless you can trust 2 things. One is you have an extremely confident runner that will just focus on eggs purely, or that's pretty much it, the only reason actually, now that I think about it. So this is something to really just consider when you're doing that.
Oh, Nova is asking about kind of depending on the weapon you have. Should you still come back with an egg if you have a heavy weapon like Hydra and you took care of the stinger, for example?
I would say generally the answer should be yes. Why leave the egg just sitting there? Someone is going to have to go out there and grab the 3 eggs. Like if you go into the mindset of not grabbing an egg, you lost 3 eggs effectively. What if everyone suddenly decides to leave 3 eggs? Then you just lost 3 eggs. But if you decide to go out of your way to try to make sure you get every egg, that's how you push your scores. This is the difference that separates groups that gets 40 eggs on average versus 50 eggs on average, is because those stinger and flyfish eggs can mean the difference between you getting it or not. And like I said, there's no textbook answer at the end. You have to assess, is it safe to go in and grab it? and is it not? This is ultimately something that comes down with experience that I cannot really give you a straight answer for. You have to pretty much make an educated decision based on what you feel is best at the end of the day. Also, I just want to point out something, Mina. You dodge rolled 0 times as a dapple. When you get dapple or any dually weapons, make it a habit to always be dodge rolling before every encounter. Just as a rule of thumb. Your DPS always goes up when you dodge roll. There's pretty much no reason you shouldn't be dodge rolling. You just have to manage your spacing very well. Always be utilizing that when possible. Just something to keep that in mind. All right. Other than that, these are, like I said, a lot of these things are going to be very minor things, but you'll see it really adds up in the long run once the full group starts to get going. And you kind of consider this as the full group already. But these are the immediate things that I notice from this gameplay. Let's see how Wave 3 plays out.
If I remember correctly, I stayed at basket there because everyone else was taking care of the far A. If I didn't stay back and take care of that scrapper when it's at basket, that could have like stalled the scraper for too long.
Okay, nice. Okay, let's take a step back and see what happened. There was a couple of things I observed from this section, especially around the middle of the wave. Let's take a look here. I think it was around here, but let's just back up a little bit further. Okay, so here you dealt with the threats, okay? So let's take a look here. There's a lot of... So here the scenario is this. There's like at least about 15 eggs sitting around the basket with like at least 5 snatchers sitting around. So this is kind of where it puts you to the test of what is your target prioritization when it comes to dealing with egg guarding. And I believe when I was watching this, I saw one snatcher get away with a group of 3, and you decided to let that happen in exchange to grabbing a far egg with someone else. Let's see if that actually is what happened. So you can see here, you weren't even shooting at any of the snatchers here. So there was no prioritization here in dealing with them. So here, I already hear the one behind us. There was a snatcher that already took 2 eggs, and you decided to fight the drizzler instead that was just jumping, which was basically not going to be a threat at that time. So it's something to keep in mind. So now the team comes back with the eggs at toe. So let's take a step back for a moment. Let's see if that's what happened. So we can see here the Seahawks taking care of it. This is when your teammates decided to leave the area. So you can see right there, that's the snatcher that took the 3 eggs on the left side. And I heard that get away while you were fighting the drizzler. So these are like the sound cues that you will be very surprised that you're able to catch. And this is how you become a very effective egg runner, is by prioritizing very carefully with which eggs are relevant and which ones you need to just let go. You need to be able to create this mental timer with every egg on the field. Every single egg, you need to keep a timer for this. And whether it's an amazing runner like Marty, like me, everyone needs to be able to do that, to know which threat needs to be taken care of at what moment. And all it takes is a split second of indecision to lose that moment. So just keep your eyes peeled on that particular snatcher and we'll take a look what happened. So here you decided to shoot this Drizzler and you didn't even take care of the torpedo for some reason. And here you can hear the snatcher jump away right there. He was already gone. So this is kind of just an example of just a poor choice of target prioritization that you can just do a better job in the future. But one of the biggest things to prioritize your score is make sure no eggs get stolen. And now keep in mind this only really applies to normal waves. This event waves are a little bit more special and I'll cover those in a bit. But general rule of thumb is because normal waves are capped at a certain amount of eggs, you want to effectively try to guard off the egg as aggressively as possible. Okay? Does anyone have any questions so far regarding the wave in general for me so far?
So far, let's see. Snatchers? I'm not sure if that's a snatcher question exactly, but usually that the snatcher timer happens immediately after one boss gets killed. So if the snatchers that are closer to the water, which should take more priority.
It really depends. I'd say the priority comes down to if the snatcher is about to leave versus the snatcher is about to, if they're going to touch any eggs. Because they have a very long delay before they actually touch the egg. But the moment they grab the either 1 to 3 batches of egg in the area, they are gone very quickly. So if they are already running, if they took the 3 eggs, you probably lost the egg at that point. Unless you have A, a very quick killing weapon, or B, you have very, very confident aim. Which is usually both to an extent. So something to do keep in mind. You need to kind of just be keeping your eyes peeled on which eggs is about to get stolen and prioritize those accordingly as a result. If you have to leave it really depends on the scenario. Like in that case, it was very obvious that we shouldn't be shooting the Drizzler. And there were at least 5 snatchers in play at that point that you didn't even shoot at any of them. So something to really just kind of keep in mind when it comes to egg management. That's kind of what I mean by if you're going to push the score, you have to be very aggressive about it.
I wonder if we could find a certain wave about a handful of stationary bosses in normal waves, like maybe like three fly fishes or three stingers that happen in the same group or two.
Maybe I would say instead of trying to fish around for it, we're probably going to get eventually a wave that just has bad RNG. And usually when we get near the max hazard games, because these aren't max hazards yet, it will probably start occurring more regularly, and then we can talk about that when that happens. Just because I know there's probably a lot of things happening in between each other, I'm going to mostly try to glance at some of the questions I'm going to be trying to answer I know I have to answer to, and then for everyone else, try to see if you can chip in to reply to some of them, and just so I can move forward at a particular pace. So ABC asked about at what point do you prioritize new boss spawns to loss of single eggs from snatchers from away from threats? You have to give a little bit more context of that because when you say single eggs, where are these eggs located at? Because usually if they're kind of standalone by themselves, I would be running those anyway and letting the bosses come closer anyway. Because that's pretty much the play you should be making by default is if suddenly the spawn area changes, grab the eggs that you just killed and then let the bosses come closer, and then it kind of becomes like a natural flow after a while. So something, hopefully that answers that question. In the meantime, I'm going to just continue on with the video and yeah, and we'll just proceed from there. So here, 130 eggs. I'm just going to skip forward. to the next point of interest. All right, so let's do a max hazard game with the group here. So I'm gonna just skip ahead to.
It should be about an hour and 30 minutes in then.
Yeah, that might take a while. Let me see if I can find it. Nope, this is still not it. This is stuff. Okay, here's a max hazard. Let's take a look here. Skipping around on like a 4-hour video is.
Looks like that they're
pretty
relaying a
difficult.
lot of messages,
Yeah,
a lot of questions
you
right
can
now.
use the like left and right arrow keys to like skip forward and back 10 seconds. By the way, that's
Yeah.
more effective.
Yeah, I just need to find like the right time step before I can start doing that. Okay, so here is the max hazard game that you're all waiting for. So let's jump right in and see what we can do here, and then I will go ahead and skip forward to our group's gameplay and go from there. Classic booyah into a drizzler.
Oh, that's two bosses right there on the second group already. At the very beginning. Wasting my time. Looks like that? Well, there's your 3 stingers right there. Oh. That was a lot of time wasted putting away.
All right, nice. Let's take a look at. Let's examine this wave a little bit more carefully now. So let's take a step back. So you probably noticed I'm going to mostly be letting waves play out before I start from the beginning, just to kind of break it down a little bit more, so we can get a second pass at it and kind of just let that sink in a little bit more. Because there were things I noticed on this wave that can be talked about, and this will probably pretty much be the way that it goes. Here, the drizzler jump to the right. I don't know if this is intentional, but I usually try to make it jump to the left just because it's closer. And generally closer to back is better, so it's just something to keep in mind.
You have a certain preference on?
Here, you guys did a very good, important thing, which was 3 people run and 1 person stay at basket running the eggs. That will be a very big theme that comes into play, especially in higher level groups, to take care of farther eggs. And that's how you effectively get the higher egg scores for these kind of games. Here, for the steelhead threat, I know you're concerned about the steelhead, but instead of shooting it immediately and putting yourself in that position, I would have refilled ink first to try to deal with the maw, because maws needs to usually be dying quicker than steelheads. And whenever you hear a maw, your first instinct should always be refill ink for that. It's not a very big thing. That usually comes more into play near the end of waves, but just something to note here. Also, I'm pretty sure that Splat Bomb did not get into the basket, which is unfortunate.
I didn't see any power eggs.
Now here, it's a little bit debatable why you jumped down. There were 2 eggs on the right, as you can see in this pause screen, while 3 of the people are already down there. And that's kind of something I wonder why you decided to do that. Because there was nothing there for you to really do I guess you can try to grab an egg, but the problem is if you're all down there, there's going to be 0 bosses that is getting pulled to the basket as a result. So something you want to be careful is, I know you want to be fiercely guarding a lot of the far eggs, and I know that's like a force of habit sometimes at times, but you want to be very careful and keep it in mind with the boss flow at all times, and not just be looking for the far eggs. You need to be making sure the bosses always try to fold the basket as best as you can. So it's just something to really be keeping in mind here.
That means just...
So you came down here and he immediately decided to leave, which effectively, just like before, it translates to lost time in Salmon Run, where those 2 eggs are luckily still sitting there.
That would be, for the situation before, it would be kind of better to just deal with the snatcher so there's a chance that you could get it later.
There were 0 snatchers there at that scenario, though. Like, if I run an egg, like, let's take a look. If I could still run an egg, those 2 eggs on top, while keeping my eyes looked at to make sure that egg doesn't get stolen. So you can see there, down there, there's 0 snatchers guarding that egg. Likely because one of those 3 already either took the egg or they killed it. Now, it's also worth noting that this is actually not a big deal right now because those 2 went for the 2 far eggs. So they did the right thing, but if there's 1 egg by itself, then go for the single eggs instead of trying to go for the 3 egg group, so you have less snatchers to deal with. It didn't come into play here in this specific scenario because they did the right thing and went for the far ones. Just kind of be mindful with what you decide to do when it comes to like, okay, I'm going to pick this up versus I'm going to run the closer ones. So just something to keep in mind here. Okay, and then after this, I'm pretty sure there was not much that else happened up this way, so I'm just going to skip forward to the next one. Alright, so our first night wave.
Oh, is this one the rush one? No, that's
Nope, we
Goldie.
got the sewers.
Oh, that's over with the 2. Right there, I'm just trying to make sure I get to medium HP ASAP.
I still don't know how people can row for so long onto Goldie. I have a hard time doing that.
Oh, that might be for a different question. Sometimes...
Like, it's easier with Dynamo, but any other regular rower, I can do it for long.
Sometimes yeah, like that right there, I sort of envision like the Goldies basically kind of like pushing against you, so it's...
Yeah, you don't have to roll too fast or you just go past it.
Also, if you remember the path, you could kind of know how it like angle pushes you.
Like, usually I try to do like the opposite of the angle it's pushing me.
Nice. Let's take a step back. Okay, so first thing about sewers, if you're going to get high scores, everybody in the group needs to know how sewers work. In other words, you need to know which combination of sewers you open to find a Goldie. The reason is this: you can effectively spread out to open the correct sewers immediately. If there's any hesitation about which sewers you open, go back and study, do your homework, and look up the chart. There's charts already figured out there, and you should always be following that. There's pretty much zero exceptions to this rule. If you're pushing for a high score, you pretty much need to memorize the chart. It's actually not that difficult to memorize. It looks a little bit daunting. However, it's pretty much usually comes down to open either 2 or 3 far sewers, and then based on what those are, you open the next sewer and then you find a Goldie. For Arc in particular, it's always the 2 outermost sewers, and then it's usually either 1 sewer that finds the Goldie, or if you get the 1 bass spawn, then it's 2 sewers. But you will always minimum find the Goldie after 3 as a result. So for groups, you need to always you need to know your sewer homework is what I'm trying to tell you. In freelance, I know the strategy is different, but for groups, you need to do your homework. Every single player needs to know how sewers work. If they do not, go back and study it. That's pretty much plain and simple. There's not much you can really get out of it because if you open wrong sewers, that just slows the team down. So very, very number one advice. If you get sewers, you better know how to do your homework. Okay, that's the very first disclaimer. Okay, let's talk about actually how the wave unfolded.
Oh, Dusty. May I ask about what weapons that are better with seeking the first few sewers? Like if you have like a charger, wouldn't that be better for seeking? Or do you only just do one side?
Yes, that is true. But yeah, that's assuming whoever gets the charger will be looking for the sewers, which is not guaranteed unless they know that's their job. That's if you trust your team enough to know that the person that gets the charger will do that. I don't really expect the coordination of many teams to really be at that level yet. But if your group has that kind of power, then more power to you. Personally, usually from what I see is they designate somebody to always be looking and adjusting accordingly. Now, someone also talked about how to roll effectively against the Goldie to make sure it kind of sticks to you. There's kind of a trick to it, and it's kind of rolling it diagonally to it to make that happen. There's pretty much a tutorial video sitting out there to make it happen. You just have to kind of look for it. But I'm not going to really talk about that too much because it's not really going to be an issue with this group. And if that's something that you want to see how it's done, my best advice is to just go to the ice show and just test bed and play around with the weapon. And then you'll just be able to kind of get enough of a test bed to figure things out at that point. And I really always encourage people to be doing this like for things that they wonder, hey, what can my weapon do? Or how do I do XYZ for weapon for whatnot? Sometimes it's just a technical side of the gameplay that you may lack proficiency in. That's something you just have to kind of sit down and do. And then once you know how to do it, it's just execution. Because at the end of the day, when you jump into any wave type, there's no practice. It's all execution. People always go like, yeah, I'll just practice it when this rotation comes up. Yeah, I'll practice it when this comes up. Every single wave is an execution. There's no 2 game that will be ever the same unless you get like 3 boring waves or 3 high tides, something like that. But just keep in mind there is almost no game that you should treat as practice. Because what better way to execute for the real thing than just doing the real thing? So you need a balance of them. You need to know, okay, is it a technical practice that I need to do at the shooting range, or is it a team-based execution thing? At some point, you're better off just going into it and just executing. So something to really keep in mind when it comes to how to more effectively use your time is you need a balance of them both. Sometimes you just need to sit down a little bit and just assess, well, okay, what do you need to work on? And then just assess the situation and then tell yourself, okay, am I going to sit down and work on this problem that I'm not good at? You have to come to terms with that. Not everyone can come to terms with that. Some people just rather play the game. Some people just want to actually improve on XYZ scenario. But if you're looking to step up your game, you have to sometimes just take a step back and be very honest with, okay, what do I need help with? And how do I get help? And B, what are the steps to solve that issue? So something you have to really kind of think about when it comes to that. For sewers, though, I have to really say you just have to pretty much know how it works to like maximize the odds. There's some minor things that happen during the sewers that I didn't get to touch upon that I'll just touch base real quick on. They're not even that major at the end of the day because it could really go both ways. So usually around the 40-second or 30-second mark, you have to make a decision whether A, you're going to open more sewers or run the eggs that you already found. Here you obviously made the decision to go for more eggs, and it paid off because the Goldie spawned very close. The reason why I say that is because if there are more eggs on the field they can get in, then obviously it makes little reason to go and make more eggs because they won't get them in. Because then at this point you're effectively gambling whether you're going to be able to get more eggs that spawn near the basket. And obviously in this case it paid off. So here you can really go both ways, but you have to kind of roll the dice and assess, okay, is it likely that my team will get all these eggs in, or should I just go look for the Goldie again? So around the 40 or 30 second mark, you need to start asking yourself that kind of question. So something needs to kind of keep in mind.
Dusty,
pursuers.
may I also mention about something?
Sure.
Can you go back to like when the on Gusher number 5, the one that's close, the one that's Lolo, that Gusher that's Lolo.
Hold on, let me pull up the chart. When you say that, I will like look at a chart when you say number 5. Give me a sec. Let me see if I can find it.
It's alright.
Okay, when you say number 5, that's the far back one. But what about it?
Can you like replay all that, and I'll tell you when to stop.
Okay. I'm assuming it's that one that you're looking at. This one.
Yeah. Just keep playing until stop. Stop. Kind of keep playing. I believe my POV can look. No, wait. Can you go back 10 seconds? See where it stops? Stop. Right there. That entire line of stuff are really good. I think the kind of nitpick on the egg running, in my opinion, is that the lower slopes, those can be ignored because the snatchers can do the job for you and bring it up to the slope.
Yes, I'm aware that is a tactic. That didn't occur here, and like I said, there's a lot of back-end stuff that you won't even see in terms of high-level play that adds up to a lot of efficiency. I'm glad you brought that up, but in the interest of like just pushing forward in terms of the stuff, I'm just going to push forward. I know where you're coming from. Snapshot optimization is something that you'll see time and time again come up while we're playing. But yeah, I'm glad that you brought that point up, though. At least it definitely is something to consider in the long term. But to be honest, that wedge is just so close that you're probably just saving really 2 seconds at the end of the day if they pull that off. Plus, you have to worry of needing to kind of see if they do that, and also needing to kill them. So something to keep in mind if that's something you need to do. So A, you have to be in a position to stop them when they actually move the egg 2 inches,
Yes.
and B, you have to actually move the eggs afterwards. So just kind of something to keep in mind if that's a route you're going to go. So that's why I try to discourage it, because then it just creates more work for little gain. So yeah, something to keep in mind.
I commented about that because we basically killed, because there was like 18 eggs layered on the ground, so we kind of had to like, prioritize a certain amount of
well, like I said, at that scenario, you either have to make a decision where you're going to run all your eggs or look for a Goldie. It could really go both ways. I acknowledge the fact that it could really have gone either way if you just ran eggs or you didn't. So there's merit in both options. At the end of the day, that's pretty much what you decide to do, and that's how it played out. It's all I can really say at the end.
Yeah.
Alright, let's take a look at what happened in Wave 3. After this, we're going to go to some of our team's gameplay and analyze a little bit further.
that time? Oh, that's right. That's on.
Hey, look, it's me playing Splatoon 2.
Because you're not on yet.
Okay, let's take a step back with memes aside. Let's take a look at the wave.
But memes are great.
Okay, that's too far. Alright, here we go. Okay, you took the quickest path.
That should be going in.
Alright, so here we got the infamous bad RNG scenario set up. And it looks like you guys dealt with it very quickly, which is good. However, one thing I did notice there, and this is a very big deal when it comes to egg optimization I'm going to call you out on, is don't grab one egg each from a cluster of 3. Grab the cluster of 3 together. So take it a step back. You'll see there are 6 eggs on the floor, but then you decided to grab the batch of 3 there instead of the other 3 on the other end, because that will lead to harder optimization for people to run eggs. Okay, here you crippled the fly fish. Okay, here you also didn't stop the snatcher, which you definitely saw in the distance that you could have did a vertical flick to try to kill. Like, ultimately, even though that won't be a long run issue, keep in mind, the golden rule is you ain't guarding all the eggs. You need to try to make sure they don't get away, especially in normal ways, because at least that gives you another opportunity if you need to go there at any moment to grab another egg. That one in particular probably won't be as much of an issue in the long term. But just something to kind of keep in mind as a mental note is guard the eggs aggressively throughout the map. If you approach it and you see something that's about to get away, there, especially when you're walking on the grades, you could have easily put a vertical flick and not really lose any time is what I'm trying to say. So there was actually no real loss of consequence if you did a vertical flick there before you went onto the rail. So something to keep in mind there. Just to back up a little bit so you see what I mean. So here you could have vertical flick there, and then killed the snatcher. But I digress. Now here we obviously see the fly. That's probably at least 6 flyfish that have spawned on this wave already, and you guys have already done a pretty good job at dealing with them. And I'm pretty sure near the end of the way you guys got yet more flyfishes that spawned. So let's see how that plays out.
So Dusty, Shamit says that snatcher, that spawned earlier wasn't worth it because it was too far away.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Samit said that earlier, that snatcher that you told Mina that she should have vert flicked. He said that snatcher just wasn't really worth it because it was like so far away.
That's part of it, but keep in mind, you don't really lose too much time doing a vertical flick on that grading anyway. So there was really no loss to leave it there. At least you can spawn a snatcher there and come back for it later, because you're effectively just sending a message saying, okay, I'm just going to give up on these 3 eggs. And you generally do not want to put yourself in a mindset saying, okay, I'm just going to give these eggs up. This is how you don't push your score. Go into it with the mindset that you're trying to get all the eggs in.
So like trying to secure every single egg. Yeah.
Yes, this is how you push your score. Simple. If you go into the mindset, yes, at some point you have to give up certain eggs, but for starting out, especially with groups that are trying to push their scores, aggressively try to ensure all eggs are getting the put in. So, like I said, this is not, like I said, at the end of the day, these are not hard-coded advice that I'm giving because I'm very biased, but I'm just trying to say it for the general population that are trying to push scores. make it a habit to try to secure the majority of the eggs. And then they'll give you more options as a result to see how you want to play things out afterwards. Okay, here obviously more fly fish spawns, and then you decide to take care of the stinger first. Now here, you decide to do something called long range throwing, which has its ups and downs. The thing about bomb rushing is the trajectory on it, you probably notice, is very wonky. That you either are going to be throwing all far or all short. And it just comes down to practice whether you can consistently get it to where you want to aim. There's not really much else to say about that. It's actually deceptively harder than it looks to launch a bomb rush, is what I'm saying at the end. Now, obviously, that wave was very, very unfortunate that you guys got like at least 7 fly fishes that spawned, and you guys did your best to try to kill them. And sometimes maybe even crippling them was an option. Regarding crippling, I guess this is something I should probably bring up, and because some people may probably ask about it, is when should you cripple versus when you should kill outright? General good idea is if you want eggs and there's none around, kill the fly fish. If you get early fly fish spawns, like 3 of them, at the very early on the wave, just cripple them and kill them near the end of the game. So that way you can minimize the bad potential RNG that you spawn more fly fish as a result. This tactic is something that is not easy to decide, and you have to kind of make a very quick decision with your group what you're going to pursue, because at the end of the day it can really go both ways. In this case, it obviously went the other way. So regarding how to deal with bad RNG, that is something to take into consideration. This is also why I stress a lot about the fact that you should generally not be lingering out at the edges just to deal with constant fly fish / stinger spawns. Especially if you have a maw or a car that spawned, you should take care of the stinger, go back, and let someone else go deal with it. So that way you bring back 4 eggs, the one that you just killed plus the maw or car, and then someone else can go out and deal with the stinger and bring back another egg at that point. So something to kind of think about at the end of the day. All right. On that note, I think this is when I joined in, right? Because I saw me launch the game. This is when I joined? Let's find out.
You took too long.
I don't remember what was happening, but there's me in this game. And then I want to skip ahead to when Killer Heels is playing after this one. I just want to kind of see how this chemistry worked with me in the game now.
From first gameplay, or should we skip through like the later half?
I'm just going to check the first one, and then I'll maybe come back, but I do want to just get Heels' gameplay involved, because as you probably noticed, these are taking a lot longer than it looks. Okay, one thing I wanted to point out. You notice when I was playing, that wall was fully painted. This is something I always do. Some people may only paint the middle of the wall, and that's something that can work, but I maximize painting the entire wall because if something were to climb that wall, at least you still can climb it. And this is something I just personally do. You can usually get away with just painting the middle. This goes for Bay as well, but you can see right there, you were checking the wall was painted, but I assure you, if you play with me, this wall is 100% always getting touched.
No, it's fine. I always paint that wall too.
Yeah. But I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that this is probably the number 1 wall to paint. Everyone should always prioritize this in groups. Even if this wall, because this wall is almost ultimately always ends up getting used. And the wall's route just always tends to be faster than riding the rails in the long run. Okay, and then when I have time, I usually will paint the other wall on the opposite side. Usually I have like 5 seconds left, so it depends on the flow. But let's take a look and see what happens this way.
Yes, this is still Amita's play?
I believe I'm the only one that streamed the entire game, the entire 8 or 12-hour session. Yeah, I believe so. So this is the only POV resources that you can get right now.
Nice. All right, let's take a step back and see what happened on this one. All right. Disclaimer, this wave was not good for you. There was a lot of things that were kind of questionable in terms of decision making. I noticed you were also playing a very hard weapon, so I'm going to try to be as nice as I can with the criticism, but there's going to be a lot of feedback on this one. You probably already know which ones I'm going to talk about, but here's a very prime example of the 3 eggs that you just split up on. So here you went for this egg instead, where you should have went for the group on the left. Even though me and Mick were right there, probably that could be taking that egg anyway. Just make it a habit to always go for the egg that just got touched and leave the triple packet by itself. And try to pick up the group of 3 as fast as you can in general. You don't want to always leave yourself with a 2-2 scenario. Those are generally not good. Just something to keep in mind. Especially when you have 3 of you that went for an egg, it makes little reason to go for a separate egg when 3 of you are there. Then you just cause 2 snatchers to spawn instead of 1. So this is just this is the more prominent example of when this occurred, but something to just start keeping in mind when it comes to snatcher optimization. Let's continue. So obviously in that case, I was there with Redco or Mick to take care of that. Now here, I wonder why you decided to go for the Snatcher. There was pretty much zero reason to go for it because the Snatcher there had another egg that it was going to go for anyway. You could have put the egg back, then just gone back and killed the Snatcher. You have plenty of time to do that. So I was wondering how come you decided to prioritize on the Snatcher there instead of bringing the egg back plus the Maw. You were probably indecisive what you were trying to do because I've had a feeling that was pretty much the majority of the wave. You weren't sure what you were going to do, but you'll see that especially come into play this wave. So let's take a look. So here, obviously, at that point, I stole the Snatcher from you. So here you check the egg, and we took care of the little error with no problems at all. So this is the thing about team games. Yes, mistakes happen. Teammates will be able to cover the mistakes that happen. This is how teams work very well in synergy. And this is why teams can push towards high score, can patch up a lot of these very small things to make it work out. However, that only works if everyone on the team knows what they want and what they're trying to do. You need to be able to step up to the plate and form that before you can be looking forward to push that high score and make sure everyone can contribute accordingly based on that. Let's continue. So just a little disclaimer there. So here, again, you were kind of decisive what you wanted to do. You wanted to go for the fly fish. There, you shouldn't have thrown the bomb because there was 0% chance you're going to make that in. So here, you already know that there were 3 fly fishes there. There, you obviously tried to kill the fly fish, but you missed. So, like I said, this wave was just really rough on you. You made a lot of boo-boos. But like I said, these bad waves happen. It's understandable. They occur. And you're not using the easiest of the weapons at the same time. But yeah, at this point, I already knew, my God, you were not having a good wave, this one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the eel killed me from behind, and usually there's nothing you can do about that. Okay, so something to point out there. I would have actually killed the fly fish right there. You had an opportunity there, but that was just me. Then you could have avoided the extra 1 or 2 cycles from that point. So let's take a look again. So here you see, at a very quick glance, Mick threw the bomb. You can even hear it too if you're alert enough. And then here, I would have just thrown the bomb. Instead, he shot the scrapper, where I wasn't sure why he did that. And then Mick shot the scrapper again. So effectively, forget it. That scrapper's not getting up here at this point. And then lastly, the one final critique of this wave is the Drizzler shooting the bomb. Here, I don't know why you decided to shoot the Drizzler, because the angle was perfectly aligned with the little missile that you could have backed up and reflected. That's a very minor thing, but that was like a reflex thing that you could have done. But like I said, this is not a good wave for you, so it's understandable that these things happen. We get bad waves here and there. That doesn't have to define who you are. It's a matter of long-term what you can do, and hopefully you're starting to see why I cover specific, like, the waves at random, because then it gives us a chance to see the good and bad at the same time, and you know then, okay, you come up better as a result from seeing some of the things that could have been done better. Mina, do you specifically have questions for me regarding your gameplay here, or should I continue?
H3 isn't that bad because it's usually more focus on the shots. It does have the power and stuff, but it's just probably a bit more finky because I have to be very selective with each end lag it has. I can't exactly like dawdle too much if I use probably like an L3. So
okay, so what is the question?
Oh.
That was a statement.
Sorry,
Question.
I don't think that was a comment. It was. I think it's more of a comment than a question. Sorry about that.
If I can add something, I'd say that the biggest thing that I noticed in that wave was just like general indecisiveness, like just not really hard committing to something. So, yeah.
All right, let's see wave 2.
Explosion Clash Blaster.
Nice. All right, nice. Take a step back. Okay, good. All right, so opening disclosure about the weapon. It was pretty evident that you weren't pretty proficient with the bubbles and you needed a little bit more help with understanding how it works, just based on like how you were aiming with it. Generally, the thing about bubbles is it doesn't work like as much as artillery as you might think. You just need to point your cursor at the enemy, and usually that will connect. Then after that, if it doesn't, you can make the adjustments accordingly. So something about aiming with the bubble weapons is not so much about just aim at your feet or aim at like the front and it will connect. You just point your cursor at the enemy and it's going to hit. So don't fall into the trap thinking, oh, just because it bounces that everything is going to connect. Because that's the very first thing I noticed is you don't understand how the bubble works. That's not your fault. Like I said, some things you just learn as you go, some things you just don't know. But just point your cursor at the enemy, and I promise you usually will connect. For steelheads, aim a little higher, and you'll be okay. Okay? So that's the first thing that I 100% noticed about the weapon, is you need to know how to use your weapon. obviously here we were going for the egg and we got a little bit of an unlucky eel spawn and then a chum just kind of murdered you. So I won't really put that against you. So here, I wonder why you stayed behind to shoot a little bit more of the bad guys. At that point, once you kill the stinger, you should have already left. You should have already been gone. There was little reason to like be spawn camping the lessers there, because the only thing you really have an interest in killing there were snatchers at that point. Everything else you're pretty much going to try to pull to the basket, because if you kill lessers, like what are you really stopping? You're just stopping them from painting like the lower part of the map, which ultimately doesn't really even contribute to anything. So at that point, once the stinger was finished blocking your path, I would have already left. So something to keep in mind, you need to prioritize better at just once you touch the egg, leave. Sometimes you stay in the area for like 5 or 10 seconds too long and it really starts to show. So I'm being very, very small touchy about these things because these are the things that will ultimately impact the bottom line. Because think about it this way, if you do it for every time you go down there, then you have already lost 10 seconds of the wave as a result. So something to just consider. So I'll just replay that really quick again. Here's that stinger scenario that you killed. You stuck around a little bit to kill broken Cohocks. I would have just left right there. Instead here, there was little reason for you to go forward to kill lessers. So something to just note about. Now this is when you decide to leave. So at this point, you probably realize it was the right move to make. Here, again, just point your cursor at... Wait, did you actually point your cursor at the steelhead? The eel there? Let me just double check. Yeah, you did, but you were looking at the wrong cursor. You have to look at the one that moves because that's ultimately what touches the wall. So this game actually has 2 cursors in play, for those of you that don't know. The main one that kind of sticks the reticle and the one that's where you truly are aiming. Because this game has this curse in Splat 1 called the right-hand rule, where if you aim at a certain angle, the things will just kind of not aim where the cursor is. It's a little bit of a strange thing that you won't even really think about until it comes into play, but it 1000% came into play there, so just be careful about something to just kind of take note of. You see that the other cursor is kind of moving around as a result too. There, I'm pretty sure the car was unfortunately pulled down there by mistake. Not much you can do. So again, we were killing that snatcher. The aiming problem was showing again. I'm not going to talk too much about that here. You kind of got a little bit unlucky with the missiles and rain and everything. Here, I know I told this group near the, like when we finished playing, that we have this kind of issue when there was still a lot of malls and cars near the end of the wave that were still alive, and then we were scrambling their eggs. You'll kind of see that become kind of a little bit of a trend as we progress, is sometimes we just have all these cars and malls leave near the end of the wave because we decided to kill a far threat, and as a result, we were not able to capitalize on the extra 3 eggs. So, like I said, keep in mind, if you bring those back, it's free 3 eggs at the end of the day. There's no point in killing a far stinger for 1 egg and letting them all run rampant, where you could come back and have 3 eggs and then deal with the threat later if you have time. Because at worst, remember, at the beginning, they have really 5 or 10 seconds of an attack cycle. You're not really missing out if you were late or even there a little bit a second later. You can always go back and then let someone else deal with it, or go back afterwards. Something to keep in mind. All right, wave 3. Again, we got a lot of boring waves, I recall, during when I first started. So even more important one, I'm going to skip forward to why Keels is playing with us. Nice, we all failed.
Like, no bombs got in there. That was kind of funny.
Oh no, not this part! I was thinking about using the rails to walk alongside it, but looks like my room is lacking again. Oh, I missed that.
Someone is asking during these games, did you have voice calls going or voice chat?
Voice chat? Nah.
No, it seems
We don't. I don't think we really voice chat when doing any of these matches.
I kind of want to say that like just using this way and the booyah commands are usually enough, but I think voice chat does make things like a bit easier. I don't know.
Here's my opinion when it comes to voice chat. When I voice chat, usually we don't even talk about the game. We usually talk about something else. And it's usually because we try to distract ourselves away from the game. The only time I would talk about the game in voice chat, 9 out of 10 times, is because there's a mall.
So
there's a mall that someone is chasing.
It's like a general unfocused thing. Like I feel like the team doesn't just focus enough usually, but
the thing about Salmon Run is this game has enough audio cues that there's pretty much zero reason you need to be calling every single thing. Like, what's the point of saying, okay, an eel spawned? We all see an eel spawned. Or, a tower spawned. Yeah, a tower is right there. Like, we all see it. There's some very rare exceptions. Like I said, and this comes over time with just knowing, okay, what if... You have to keep pretty much asking yourself this question. If I call this, is it for the interest of, okay, is someone going to help me kill it? Or I'm just calling it because, oh, this is spawned, not what I'm going to do. Most of the time, if you're calling it because of option number 2, don't call it. Here's why. Because this causes clutter. We're already trying to process and analyze a lot of this information that's already on the field. It just causes clutter. There's almost zero reason to be calling that because, A, if you're going to deal with it, there's no point. So the only reason you're calling is, A, you need help, and that's pretty much the only reason. I imagine that's usually the case because, hey, you want help to someone get the eggs, right? Logically, it makes sense. But there's usually zero reason because you already saw it. Everyone else, if they know what they're doing, they'll already be next to you at that point, dealing with the threat. You're already on the same page. So there's almost no reason.
I would usually call out a stinger or like a fly fish spawn because like it's fairly important for like having like the team to put those eggs in. But yeah, so just general rule of thumb, generally try to keep the call out minimum only if you feel like it will benefit another player to know that it's going to be there. And even then, that's a very broad statement because technically anything can be interpreted as, oh yeah, the team can benefit from it. But you have to be very careful with knowing, okay, if this person benefits from this information, what are they going to do about it? So let's go back to the example where I said, okay, this guy only calls when there's a mall, which was the one I would only call. Why is it so important? It's because then the other player across the map would know, oh, they have a mall targeting them, they need to go back to the basket. That pretty much just tells them, okay, that's what you need to do. Because 9 out of 10 times, that would be the reason. If it's a tower, usually you would see it, and that's up for debate, like Flyfish does well, because if you already see it, chances are you can't fight it alone. If you see the Flyfish, it's more efficient to have 2 people that are dealing with it than take the eggs and run. So, something to think about when it comes to VCing. You have to be very selective with what information you share, and that ultimately depends on how serious you want to take the session. Personally, for me, I would prefer to have a good time when it comes to VCing and avoid talking too much about the game and just talk more about random junk. And that's just personally for me. Someone says that good VC raises the skill ceiling and bad VC distracts. That's like the key thing to take away.
Well, pretty much. In
Yeah,
a sense, you can kind of interpret it that way because there's only so much this way or booyah can interpret. Like I said, I feel like the only real big thing you need to call out is moss. Everything else is pretty much zero reason. It's very, very circumstantial at the end of the day. I can tell you this, I've not only called malls before, I have definitely called tower spawns, I have called drizzler spawns. It comes down to experience to know what's relevant and what's not. Because you have to assess so many things at once that you have to figure out, is it worth telling them, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. For example, another very extreme example is a drizzler spawn and everyone is off doing their thing in the corner and just going back to the basket. Suddenly a drizzler spawns across the map. If everyone is paying attention, they'll see it, but sometimes some people are just climbing the wall and they didn't see it. That's when it will be very circumstantial that it'll benefit. But like I said, these are extreme, and you have to make an ultimate decision whether it's worth it or not. General rule of thumb, in my opinion, usually it's not. Usually people learn best just by absorbing the information that's around them, and I hope you realize this is also the reason why I've been taking this approach tonight with this kind of lecturing. I let the wave play out before I break it down with analysis, because I like people to absorb the information first, and then we break it down, and then there were probably things that we both immediately spot, and then we talk about it like, oh my god, this guy is right on the money with what I saw.
I think
so
that's
it
the
clicks.
right thing.
Exactly, and this is how I feel like this ultimately gives more productivity when it comes to analysis learning. Let's continue. So here we got the first umbrella spawn that we obviously knew how to deal with, but for those of you that do not know, the minimum spot you must stand behind is that ledge where I am and where Mina is for the umbrella to jump to the left. Earlier in the video analysis, you saw an umbrella jump to the right. If you're too far to the right side, it's going to do that. Something to just keep in mind. This is a very minor thing, but it's worth mentioning. Now here, we all made a boo-boo, but it's worth mentioning that you generally won't be able to land a bomb in a fly fish unless you step further to the left. And by left, I mean like close to the grate. So we both obviously missed. So it's not really my place to call that out on you because then we failed, but like where Renko and I was standing is usually the sweet spot to throw the bomb into the fly fish. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's see that again really quick.
You also need to jump to reach this container.
Yeah, so you can see me and Renko's bomb pretty much touched the left basket, which is the right pot to stand. So there's something to keep in mind. That's like the minimum distance you need to be standing to land that bomb throw. Obviously we missed because it closed on us, but it's something to keep in mind.
I think Mick was trying to say that you want forward momentum jumping off that ledge a bit to make that bomb.
Otherwise it won't reach.
Yes, that is correct. That's something you can do.
It's on the first cycle.
I think both ways.
For the second cycle, we can reach it easily.
Yes.
Yeah, the second cycle, if it's on the left side, you can touch it easily. Like here, you see,
Like
here. Touched it. Here, the tail did a cheating hitbox thing and just blew Mina up, which is understandable because the tails of scrappers are cheating. They're much bigger than it looks, so just an FYI. Let's continue. On that note with bomb throws, I just want to point out that this is something I'm noticing. When you throw bombs, sometimes you either know where you need to stand and this is where the bomb's going to reach, or you should just take a couple extra, like half a second to just see the throwing cursor, then throw it. Because I feel like a lot of times you just kind of throw it and hope it goes in. And I used to have that problem too. But then you have to kind of sit down and go like, okay, is it going to reach from here or is it not going to reach from here? And a lot of times it seems like you don't really understand if it's going to reach or not. This is kind of from what I've
Sorry about that. I had to deal with like refresher because of the Polaris gravity. I'm still my mind's still not 100% like sure, so that's why you see me
I understand.
using
So
cursor.
sometimes just taking an extra half second to look for the little throwing mark will help you kind of see, okay, this is my limitation for this. I can throw from here. So just something to keep in mind, because I used to have a problem with this throw in particular too. Like I know this is actually a much more deceptively hard bomb throw that I'm making it out to be. I understand. But if you're going to up your game, you have to clean up these minor mistakes. But I see these so often that it shows you don't understand how it works. So you have to sometimes just sit down and go like, okay, just take a couple extra half a second to see the throw marker, and you'll get better that way. That's all I'm pointing out basically regarding it, because I see it like this is not the first time that you miss these kind of throws. like you can probably attest that throughout the video. This it shows a lack of understanding is what I'm trying to say. So it's something to take note of. One minor thing about that. I wasn't going to point this out, but it's worth mentioning because it comes into play sometimes. That moss spawned and was chasing Mina. If you backed it just a little bit more, it wouldn't have gotten stuck on that edge. And that edge in particular, because running eggs up that ledge is like it's kind of suckish. You rather try to get it up the ledge. But this maw has this weird targeting property where it will kind of get stuck on it if it targets you about to jump up much earlier. And if you and to prevent that, you just have to step a little bit farther and let it come up to the basket. It's a minor annoyance, but it goes a long way to try to save time when it comes to getting the eggs right on top of the basket. The best thing you can do when it comes to pushing your egg score and it makes the host life easier is making sure the eggs are right on top of the basket. And when I say by on top of the basket, I mean that little radius, that little silver radius around it. It makes their life really easy, and it don't go doubly important when fall comes into play. Something to keep in mind when it comes to that. I'm pretty sure there you could have stepped away a little bit. I'm not sure if you heard them all at that time. No, it was one of those silent moths. It was really tough to hear. Yeah. So I don't even really blame you for that one, but there's something to really make note of. Sometimes the game does that. I'm
not sure there was enough time to react to that specific case. Unfortunately.
I agree, reaction time comes into play for sure. That's definitely a tough thing to balance. Also, here I wonder something. I know you made the decision to go for the fly fish that spawned there. Yes, not fly fish, the stinger that spawned there. However, there I heard the steelhead, I would have killed that first because there was zero risk of the stinger immediately attacking us. You could have killed the steelhead, then went for the stinger right afterwards. So something to keep in mind when it comes to target prioritization. You also notice that there's this little snapshot to the left side of your screen. I don't remember if you actually took care of it.
So, basket priorities at times.
Yeah, so you also did not take care of the snatcher. So that was also just tunneling onto the stinger, which has basically zero threat for the next 4 seconds.
That is true. So, it just landed on its spot, so it wouldn't fire yet.
Yeah, so these are the very small things that makes or breaks groups in terms of what they can be doing option-wise. So you see here, what ended up happening was the egg got stolen. That's the first thing. The other thing was the steelhead threw a bomb, which slowed it down, and ultimately we killed a far stinger that dropped 3 eggs that we can't even do anything about. So something to just keep in mind. Let's take a step back and see this again. So there's the stinger that spawned. There's that steelhead that attacked. You can hear it on the right. And there's that snatcher that took the egg. They didn't stop. And then here's when we decided to take care of the bad guy that I just splashed down on. And at this point, I'm pretty sure the wave just pretty much plays out on its own. Yes, wasted splashdown. You can call me on that. Something I noticed here. So here, we had a couple of eggs that we could have been running, but you were for some reason just painting our feet. There was pretty much no reason to do that. Just run eggs. Like here, you were just painting our feet for no reason. Like you had a good extra 5 seconds to run another egg. And I could have been 42.
You believe that ink painting is unnecessary opposed to other things?
Yeah, so that's a minor thing, but you can see there were clearly 2 eggs left there. There's pretty much no reason to help paint our feet. The only time you should be doing that is if there's 1 or 2 seconds left and you know there's no chance for you to get another egg, then feel free to start painting the feet. I'd say that's generally a better practice, just making an effort to try to get the eggs instead of trying to assist painting feet. I know that's usually next level play after a while, but I'd say general rule of thumb is if there's 1 or 2 seconds left and you know you're not getting another egg, then start painting their feet towards the basket. Good thing to generally know. And that's pretty much it about this wave, to be honest. This was pretty much all 3 boring waves. I think we're probably going to be more interested in with how to play I guess how to play normal waves is also important too, because that's the most common wave type. But then ultimately, knowing how to handle these situations is key. So I hope you can kind of see this is how it really separates a lot of the groups when it comes to getting the 40 or 50 eggs. And hopefully you start to see there's so many of these minor mistakes that effectively translates to why we didn't get 50 egg average is because of this. I know this is obviously one of those bad games, and I really broke it down for you. And when I say bad, it was still 122 egg game on mid-tide. So on all things considered, that's still pretty good. And it was honestly a game that you didn't perform 100% well in, which, like I said, at the end of the day, you shouldn't feel like you need to perform 100% unless you feel like you have that obligation. If you feel like you will be able to step up and to the plate and look out for anything, your gameplay will naturally improve. So I'm saying these for the interest of you to look out for these things. Now you should have a rough idea of what you are able to work on or look forward to working on the next time you open the Salmon run. So I hope for everyone else in the audience as well, this is something that will help you kind of assess how you're going to deal with mid-tide more, because you're going to see that quite a lot, and then it will help fuel your gameplay when you eventually get the 3 god waves, that is the high tide or the night waves. And we definitely had our fair share of that, as you saw in some of the scores that we may have posted. Will help you kind of see what prevented us from getting the higher scores in that, but it will help you take advantage of that once it occurs. All right, let's skip ahead to when Keels actually started playing, which I don't even know in this video.
It's not on this video. It's the second and
okay,
third.
let's tap to the second one then.
Should we go to our highest score right now to kill it off the bat, or no?
Do you know what time it occurred at?
One of them is about an hour in, but you should probably just go for the clipped version, so it'll be easy to find.
The clips version. Can you post that to me?
Oh, should I repost it again? Sure.
Yes, please.
Clipped version. Okay, found it. Okay, here's the link. The order of it is a 194, 183, 182, and a 192.
So, do I just start from the beginning for this one?
If you want to. I believe I died too much.
Wait, so this 27-minute video, does it include all 4, or
All
do I just
4.
start from...
All 4.
Okay, so I'll just play from the beginning then. I don't know how much time we have to cover the entire thing, because we already spent about an hour 40, and I'm not sure how long Nick is going to still be around for this. So like I said, this is what happens when we really get into it, and a lot of the time is precious. Basically, is all I'm trying to say. Anyway, let's jump right into it then. Let's see what we have in store here.
I'll post the stat inc stuff for anyone curious.
Save that for... okay, you already posted that. I was going to say save that for the end. Because at the end, stats probably won't even really mean too much. It's really the gameplay that I'm more interested in. The stats can probably help identify some trouble areas, but ultimately the gameplay is what will separate the players.
This is the part where I'm practicing Cohock charge at being cannons. This one's I believe we were still like what is it? Testing the we probably had to strengthen our skills on doing cannons, but the 2 cannon use on Polaris.
just a quick question before we begin. Was this the wave when it was you and Mick that said you wanted to try the snatcher trick and that's why I didn't get in the cannon? Was
Yeah,
this early on when that happened? And I was wondering why I was
I
not in the
don't
cannon.
remember, honestly.
yes, I wanted to practice that. Forgive
Okay,
me.
so I just need to confirm that because I think I recall that was the case. I was like, why is Mina in the cannon so much? Because usually I'm the cannon person.
Let me practice. This is what we're doing right now, right? So let me
I understand, but remember, there's no practice. It's all execution in the real thing. If you practice, that's what I show is. There's no practice in the real thing. It's all execution. The real thing, you play like the real game. Remember, golden rule. Practice and show. The real thing, you jump right in. That's it. That's how you get better. That's how life works. You just jump in and you do. Yes, there is some practice element here, but you never talk about that. You always go in and execute. So golden rule, you always jump in, ready, jumping right in, super confident about what you're going to do. Okay? I know that's another thing about the group too, is because I understand and I'm willing to let you try these things because I know this is something you want to work on. So you would just jump in the cannon. I'm like, hey, here you go. Because I'm more than happy that you decided to step into play to try doing that. But hopefully now you kind of see a lot of the things that I'm trying to start to glue together in terms of execution and ultimately what that leads to when it comes to scoring well. And I'll talk about that when this wave unfolds because there's a couple of things I do want to point out during this game. So let's start there by backing up to the beginning.
I'm not good at autopiloting. I always think that's how I could play long games.
I just autopilot.
I can't! No! I always have to think.
I personally don't autopilot. I'm always thinking like all the time in my games, but
When I think, I don't get burnt out.
I don't do that for gaming.
I think that's
Oh, now,
like
now
I
we
think
have
that, okay, hold
that.
on. I'll propose a little bit here. That's not really a fair assessment. There is some thinking involved. There's a degree of how much involvement of that is there. At the end of the day, it comes down to your team chemistry and patching up a lot of the minor things that happen. Because just by looking at his play, there's a lot of minor things you don't even see occurring between our group synergy. But the fact is that we have a lot of things that we already know what to expect between each other that makes it work just so well that you just won't even see when we're playing. That goes to show really how much we've gotten to know each other and do well with each other at the little end of the day. All right, back to the gameplay here. There was a couple things I want to point out about cannons. This one is in particular actually a very important one. Believe it or not, as the cannoneer, every shot is super important. You only get 10 shots in your cannon. You need to make sure every one of them counts. It's very important. You need to know exactly where the missiles are going to land. This takes a lot of, I don't want to say trial and error, this takes a lot of feel about how cannons work. And luckily, the low tide cannons are very common. So if you notice why I'm always in the cannon, it's not because of that reason why I'm like, because part of the reason is that, but it's also because I'm very confident in knowing how cannons shoot and knowing how to manipulate and shoot them to the point where it goes where it needs to go. If you operate a cannon, you need to be that guy that every single shot needs to connect where it needs to connect. This goes double true for fly fishes. Something to really keep in mind. Yes, you do miss that one shot from time to time. I would say expect to be landing 8 of the 10 shots where you shoot. Ideally 9 out of 10, but aim for that. If you can't hit the 8 of the shots that you're trying to hit, that means you don't understand how cannons work. And you just need to practice more. And I shouldn't say practice more, it just means you need to understand it more. Remember, it's all execution on the battlefield. At the end, you want to practice, go to freelance. Freelance, everyone practices anyway. Keep that in mind. All right, let's see how this unfolds. Okay, one thing about cannons. Don't shoot once and reload, shoot once and reload. There's only extreme examples you should be doing that, and that is if you need to make fly fish cycles. You should always try to refill fully before firing. Something to keep in mind when it comes to cannons.
Really?
Yes. The reason why you shouldn't be firing refill is because of the ink refill delay. When you get out of a cannon immediately, you cannot refill ink.
Yeah, it takes like over 1 second
Yes.
of ink to refill, so
Yes, and it's awful.
I have that bad habit too.
That's really quickly.
Like I said, the only time you should break that rule is if you need to make fly fish cycles. There's some other extreme rules too, like probably steelhead cycles. That takes experience and takes time to understand. That is not the easiest to balance out, but that's why I say balancing cannons is not as easy as it looks. It's actually a very difficult role because you have the power to clear things and you have the power to make sure your teammates are safe. If you recall yesterday when we played together and that weapon comp that was horrible, Keels,
Yeah.
we were only getting like, 30 eggs, 40 eggs on average. The moment a cannon wave happened, we got like 50.
I know.
It goes to show exactly a very good cannoneer can make or break a wave. So keep that in mind. Let's continue. So there, luckily, you made the right shots and you got that fly fish kill when you refilled the ink. So kudos to you there on being able to do that. But again, here you have the issue where you didn't refill your ink again. Okay, there was one thing that audio cue should have told you to shoot right at the floor, the drizzler. Let's hear that again. So you knew the drizzler was coming. You even called it. You said booyah. You got back into the cannon. I assume because you knew the fly fish was, well, not fly fish, the drizzler was going to jump. I assume you knew that. The problem is you didn't shoot at it. It was right there. I wonder why. Did you not hear it? Or did you tunnel on something else?
I did saw it, but I guess I tunneled on lessers when there's like no eggs at all. So that's just a small bit of like a needed priority. That's all.
Okay. Something to just keep mindful of. Now here's another thing I wonder. You clearly saw that snatcher. You were trying to do the snatcher trick. Why did you look at the steelhead here? You see it. It's like right there. It was on the left. Let's back up a little bit. Okay, so here's that jumping drizzler, which I hear. So you see that. You see the little snatcher that's doing that running thing. You were going into the cannon to practice the snatcher trick.
That shot's too early.
It didn't even fire yet. I'm gonna give you a hard time. I hope you realize that, Peta.
No, the one that snatcher was too early to shoot exactly where I was looking at.
Well, okay, I understand though. The point I'm trying, I know I give you a hard time on this way, but it's just for the betterment. But just keep in mind this. It comes down to target priority, and I hope you start to realize this is why I prefer to do live showcases of scenarios, because this helps you understand the difference that every little decision can make in the long run. That little stuff can mean like, okay, this drizzler is not going to fire an extra missile. The snatcher just dropped 2 eggs at the basket. This is how you push to the high score realm. These are very minor things, and every one of the little players will have like small tricks here and there that will help them do that. So just something to keep in mind. I know this one, I'm only a little bit harder on you on this one because you said you wanted to practice cannons to do that, which is the snatcher trick, yet you counterintuitively didn't do that. So I wonder sometimes what you're wondering sometimes. Anyway, let's continue. Anyway, here you obviously did a potato moment. Let's pretend that didn't happen. And obviously it started snowballing a little bit because of that, so oopsie doozy. I don't even know how that saved you. Here, you basically just missed the cannon shots a lot. Like you shot right at the car. It was interesting to know, I didn't even know this, that you shoot right at the car front. The splash didn't even kill the eel. That was kind of interesting because I was wondering why the eel didn't die when you shot that the first time around. So here you got saved, you got back into the cannon. There you decided to shoot forward. I would have shot to the left and killed that eel first because that eel was getting away, and that would have been 3 eggs even farther if you didn't prioritize on that one. But luckily you saw me, like, I don't know if it was me, I don't think it was me, I think it was Keels. Person killed the eel there, you saw that, and then you turned back. You accidentally shot the car. I can't even blame you for this one. This one I didn't even know if you shoot the car, it doesn't even kill the eel. Like we see right here, you shoot the car and the eel doesn't die. Like, what can I say? Like we see it. It's like, I don't know, man.
Is it Is
Should
it
have, like-
cancel hitboxes? I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably
I mean,
not.
clearly
Probably
you
not
survived
gonna talk
for way
about
too
it.
long. At the end of the day, the Eels survived a little bit too long to get the extra eggs in, but luckily we were able to put most of them in. Here, I probably would have ran an egg instead of getting back in the
Yeah,
can.
I've done the same.
Yeah.
Really?
So, alright. That's canon.
I'm worried
I'm
about
pretty harsh on that
the.
analysis, but
I'm
I hope
worried
you kinda
about
see
how
where I'm coming
the
from.
Cohocks are aggroed, so I'm unsure if everyone's if the eggs will be able to be squeezed in or not.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that comes down to practice and experience. And at the end of the day, also keep in mind, everything you see on your screen is a suggestion. Because sometimes desync goes your way, sometimes you roll the dice, and the co-op's on their screen is not actually on their screen. So something to just keep in mind.
You're
You have to
host,
assess.
right? You were.
Yes, I was host.
Yeah, I wonder if you. I wonder about like the host aggro positioning might be considered in Cohock or not.
I really don't know, and honestly, I don't care enough to try to look into it because at the end of the day, these things will probably screw any kind of thought process out the window. So at the end of the day, you just play it how you want to play it out. I'm only giving my suggestion, and then you just pretty much take that to your next game and implement it. So that's pretty much all you can really do. So here, we got a 50 egg, let's continue. Another night wave. What do we get here?
Oh, I remember this one. That one's Mothership.
Was Mothership.
Nice. I didn't even remember we got Mothership. Okay, I want to point out something about Mothership High Tide because this pretty much breaks every rule that you have heard me cover up to this point when it comes to egg guarding. When it comes to egg management on High Tide Mothership, the opposite is true in terms of how to deal with snatchers. You actually kill all the coolers and you leave zero coolers alive, and if snatchers have to take an egg, you let them take it. Only if you need to get to an egg and there's nothing eggs around there left, you kill the snatcher. Here's why. Snatchers have a lot more HP than you think. You actually don't have time to even kill them. The exception is because we have G-Charger. But in other normal circumstances, do not kill snatchers. You don't have time for that. Instead, focus your entire group efforts on killing every single cooler. There should be 0 coolers on High Tide, unless your weapon combos is awful, you have no range, which I have seen happen. But make it your goal to, as a team, to kill off every single cooler. You will notice me that I got the G-Charger here, and I have done that to the fullest extent possible. Let's take a look and see what happened. Nice. That was very good. All right, let's take a look at what happened there. There's a couple of things that Ashley, surprising enough, can still point out about this wave that I want to talk about. So let's take a look at what happened from the beginning.
I love blasters in Mothership.
Okay, so before we get started, as you probably realized, killing the coolers are very important. As you see, near the end, they were not getting taken care of, and it causes lost time to deal with Cohocks that spawn. I cannot stress this enough that on high tide Mothership, get out of your way to kill all the coolers. Now, this is also a team issue, because I understand this is also partly my fault, and whoever was third player was probably Mick, that had G-Charger as well. We were both covering the left side of the map instead of spreading out on the left and right. So that might have been a team synergy issue that led to this bad decision there. And that's why there were a lot of stuff that spawned on the right side. I just want to point that out. At the end of the day, this is how you improve, is you kind of spot these kind of these team synergy issues that you want to address. And that's how you push forward. Let's take a look at actually what happened now.
Oh, Sammy, which...
Yeah, I was gonna say that...
The bomb throwing, would that be near when I'm returning to basket, or in a different part of my movement?
I think he just means in general.
Honestly, for me, this is my opinion about bombs. Bombs should only be used if you know that you'll have time to get a full 8 tank before your next encounter. Otherwise, don't throw a bomb. I know it's a very strange mindset, because you try to overlap that idea with a cooler in this case. But generally, you don't want to really be throwing bombs, because you can use that main ink to cover like a cooler. And sometimes you're throwing a bomb, you have to know how many shots you have left. So like I said, if you throw a bomb, make sure you'll have the ink ready for the next encounter at the end of the day.
I think that what he means is like you always have like a full tank in Mothership, because you're always swimming. So it's like you almost always have a...
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a fair thing to say at the end of the day. So at the end, I don't think that's going to be the major issue that makes or breaks. I think at the end, near the end, it was just a matter of where the G-Chargers were positioning. But let's take a double review pass at it just to make sure and see what happened. Again, you're jump shotting with the charger, well, not charger, the blaster, which is, I understand, it's a very horrible habit. Let's point that out again. At least you kind of stopped doing that here, but I just called out for that one time. Oh, you did it again there.
Yeah, I don't understand why you stopped shooting the Mothership.
Sorry, what was the question?
I
was asking why she was only shooting one time the Mothership instead of
he's basically asking
again.
like why is she not continuously shooting
you
it?
could do
Right?
so.
Yeah, that's another thing. I didn't even catch that, so I guess that's another big thing. I was actually going to ask how come you're not just at the basket mashing A instead. I would have done that instead of shooting at it, but shooting at it would have been also a better idea. But that's why I paused the video. I actually wanted to point out how come you just didn't stand next to the basket and mash A. There, okay, you shoot it, but then, yeah, you... Okay.
Sorry,
Mash A at
don't
the
comment
basket,
about
that's all
that.
I'm saying. Anyway.
Shami also says that you're grabbing basket eggs as on the ones closer than like the ones on the maps. You know, both should be grabbing those themselves. Just like a general thing, I suppose.
Okay, so I saw the charger. Yeah, that's where I am. I was dealing with baskets here. I think I saw too many baskets start piling up on this side. I came here temporarily, and then I was gone again. This is when the baskets started piling up on this side. And we have to waste so much time just shooting the Cohocks. As you see, here's the prime example of what happens if you don't kill all the baskets. In fact, let's take a step back. How many times did you have to shoot the blaster at Cohocks at this moment? At that moment, about 40 seconds in.
It was
Okay,
a
one,
lot because I didn't
two.
catch the coolers.
Okay, it wasn't around this time. It was around here, where you have to count. Okay, we'll pretend that was basically one there, because you were trying to shoot at it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was pretty much 5. So you can see pretty much 5 and 6 shots having to spend on shooting it. That's like at least 3 seconds or 4 seconds lost, which could have translated to 1 or 2 eggs. Okay, other than that, ultimately, these are the very minor things that will clean up our gameplay. As you see, even in this kind of scoring scenario, I hope you start to realize these very small things is what's going to push our score. Like, we have the execution, but it's these very minor things, ultimately, that will impact the bottom line. So, that's it.
Yeah. I remember I missed a few shots toward the end, so that's probably why there were...
Yeah, and at the end of the day,
around.
To be honest, at the end, when I play, I'd rather not get too involved with, we have to min and max our gameplay. This is personally for me, and I know it's a little selfish. I'd rather just play to have a good time. I'm doing this because there were specific requests about how we could have done better as a group from this very team alone. And I decided, hey, if they have enough interest to get feedback, why not do it?
I would say I'm the same. I don't want people to stress too hard about it, right?
Don't worry about it, Simi. I'm still learning, but I know when to draw the line, but I'm pretty forgiving. I think it'll be kind of hard for me to go like, hey, stop it and stuff. So.
Yeah, and I hopefully mean I know because I'm also very biased because I'm watching from your perspective, and I'm pretty sure if we play from my perspective, you'll get like a whole bunch of like things we can call out on equally. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, this is just kind of what I see and what could have been done differently from this perspective, and hopefully it'll just give you a different angle for how to approach scenarios, like you said at the end. But the biggest takeaway here, outside of like these kind of gameplay stuff, like I said, the main thing I want to focus on is the things that we could have done differently, the approach, execution. It's pretty much these things at the end, as you probably saw. Even on these kind of games, there was a lot of things that could have still been like cleaned up a little bit. That pretty much comes down to how much you want to like do that, and I can't really enforce that. That pretty much comes down to you guys. I'm only just here to give you the what I see.
Jay first said about using using the rays on the first repel, but there's a chance that you could just use the Grizz code charges to repel, but because you could also cheese, but I'm kind of not. I would rather Ray.
I think the general consensus is the Ray. I think Marty has done a test when it came to either cheesing with like even Jet Sculpture at that time versus using Ray. I think the general, like what he ended up finding out was using the Ray was better. I don't really know what the exact answer is to that. I think the bottom line is rate a Mothership. I think ultimately
I wouldn't rate too, because like that's like less like stuff to keep in mind for the team and all that. Like just try and rate everything.
Personally, for me, I rate out of habit just because it works pretty much for the majority of the scenarios. You don't have to overthink it. Go like, oh, my team has 2 chargers, and I'm going to, instead of rain, I'm going to charge it. Because that requires the entire group to know you're not doing the ray. That means the 2 chargers have to be right on top of the Mothership. And that requires a lot of like team trust, which I think even for our group, it's unless we're in a VC, that's probably not happening. Because remember, we were not VCing. So we all have to know that their second ray is not coming, and we have to know there are 2G chargers that are going to immediately shoot at it. I think in the long run, this is better to just ray it. I will say one thing about ray, in that in freelance, you probably only ray the first approach because you're trying to retain the ray just in case things go sour in other waves. For overfishing groups, ray both times. I would even do it on wave 1, just rain both times. When it comes to which one you should be raying, either the first time or second time, ray on the first one. But in overfishing groups, do it ray both times. I would just say, just to keep it consistent. Remember, the goal about overfishing, especially when you're trying to build high scores, is not to get the high score, is to build consistency with the group. If you build consistency with the group, eventually once the wave type occurs that you need, then you'll be ready for it. Your consistency will have prepared you for the moment to seize that wave opportunities. So keep that in mind when it comes to betterment of your gameplay. Okay, so if anything to take away from this Mothership, I'll repeat it again. Kill all coolers, do your best, especially if you don't have cheating G chargers on other wave Polaris, if you ever get high tide Mothership again, kill all coolers. If snatchers have to come steal eggs, don't even go out of your way to kill them if you don't have the time. Especially if you don't have cheating G-chargers. Though I would say even just ignore them. You don't have the time to shoot at them. You put your efforts as a group to clear the entire cooler basket areas and make sure no Cohock spawns. I would say bake that a bare minimum. If you can do that as a group, you will see improvements like 1000% better. It's better than letting a Cohock spawn. Let the snatcher steal an egg. If there's like 3 eggs and you see a snatcher there that's about to steal an egg, if you have time, sure, you have a quick killing weapon, but 9 out of 10 times it's more productive to just let it steal it, because chances are by the time it steals it, there's another cooler that just dropped and there'll be another egg there at that time. So I'm saying if there's like 2 or 3 eggs already there, and you see the snatcher about to get away with it, just let it get away. I know it's hard to sometimes let it go. Like I said, this also breaks the rule where I say you're egg guarding all the eggs. This is like the complete opposite. I'd rather put the effort to stop all the coolers than letting Cohock spawn. Let the snatcher take the egg. What they're going to do, they're not going to attack you. If there's no Cohocks to attack you, then nothing's going to kill you. Right? Snatchers can't even kill you. They just paint your path. You're better off just killing coolers and just running eggs. So high tide, this is only for Arc high tide Mothership. Keep that in mind. Zach, as for how many coolers spawn, I have not sat down to count.
Isn't that 15?
I know there's a cap. I'm not going to do the math. You can feel free to do that and show if you want to find out. For me, I don't care enough to find that out. That's up to you guys. If you want to figure out that kind of math, you can sit down and do it. Remember, I'm focusing more on execution elements. In terms of technical elements, that's more on the technical side. That stuff is, as you're finding out about the game, go do some studying. I encourage you guys to figure these things out.
Big maths.
Yes, at the end. Put in some of the effort. Everyone has to make these kind of contributions to try to figure these things out. If you're curious about something, go find out. That's pretty much this simple. Sometimes some people have already done it, which I understand is why you're asking that question. In this case, I don't know what the answer is off the top of my head. I don't even know if Marty knows what the answer is off the top of his head. But if there's something you're dying to know, just go do some science and go explore. That's all I can really say at the end. But at the end of the day, how many coolers is a good idea to know what the A cap is, and knowing how many A's you can ultimately get is a good thing to look around. But hey, there's something you can go and explore now, Zach, for that. All right, any other questions regarding Mothership? I think I pretty much covered based on how I approach the wave, and I hope we as a group and people that are watching understand to give this a shot, because I feel like this approach will kind of give you a new angle on how to approach this Mothership. Because I'm almost positive people don't think of it from this way, but by doing this, you'll almost immediately see very drastic change in results when it comes to Mothership.
Yeah.
I think on mid-tide we should also kill as many coolers as possible.
Mid-tide Mothership is a little bit more different. I'll talk about that when it occurs.
Low-tide Mothership is so cool, killing
the issue of Cohox.
Mid-tide Mothership general gameplay is much more different because you can't deal with all the coolers. They're just too spread out.
Yeah.
There's a much more different strategy that's covered in that, and I won't touch it here just because I don't see it here. And it's probably just going to overwhelm you if you're wondering about that. When we get to a video analysis about that, we'll talk about it. I think that's the best way to approach our session here. So, because like I said, everything is like on the fly. Like that's how Salmon Run is. You can kind of prepare for it, like knowing how you want to approach it. But until the scenario happens, you can have some rough ideas how you want to do it. But every wave is just so unique, even for mid-tide Mothership. Like you don't even like all the coolers may suddenly go in one area that you can't really do anything about it. Anyway, sorry ABC, because I know you were trying to ask a question and it makes us kind of ask a question. But did a comp double G charger come into play when no one was using splashdown when things got to get overcrowded? Because we didn't feel like we needed to splash down. Whoever had splashdown, which I don't even know who had splashdown, it was probably me, to be honest. If you don't see a certain special when it was needed, it's probably because I have it and I don't use it, because that's actually my problem.
But I see your weapon comp has a decent DPS, so I didn't...
But honestly, yeah, what you would say, like when it comes to DPS, the other reason is there's pretty much zero reason to really splash down unless you're ink refilling. That's pretty much it. And it's pretty much zero reason to really be ink refilling if we're following the strategy of killing all the coolers.
With the charger, you're going to do more damage in the event anyway, so...
Yeah, so at the end of the day, that's probably why you didn't see a splashdown. But in High Tide Mothership and other comps, if things start getting crowded, just feel free to use it. I don't think it's a bad thing if you're just killing lessers even with splashdown if you need to clear an area. Like I said, it's very situational. It really depends on the circumstances. Like I said, everything is always unique circumstance. There's no hard textbook answer for everything. You have to assess the situation and act accordingly. That's how you improve. You cannot textbook answer everything. You can kind of use it for reference, but ultimately, there are some textbook guidelines that you try to adhere to. Like, for example, kill all the coolers. That's like a textbook guideline, I would say. I would even like lock that in to say that. But then, in terms of executing that, there's no answer. It's like every comp is just too unique to how you're going to do it. So, keep in mind. All right. I think that covers it pretty much for High Tide Mothership. Like I said, this only applies to Arc. This is a very specific scenario. For other High Tide maps, it's probably not likely you'll be able to kill all the coolers. However, maybe that'll open your eyes to try that strat out and let me know how it works out. But for Arc High Tide, do the strat, and I guarantee you'll see results very quickly. Let's go on. Oh yeah, one more thing. I guess since we're talking about specials, in overfishing groups and in general salmon run play, generally we use specials to prevent a bad situation. And overfishing is actually the opposite. I actually go into overfishing thinking about if I'm going to use a special, is that going to push our egg score. Otherwise, I don't use specials. So that's why I have this kind of weird problem where I don't really use specials. It's because every single time I'm waiting for a better opportunity to use a special to push a score. When you're going for overfishing groups, that might be a good habit to begin, but this comes with a caveat. A caveat is you need to trust your teammates they'll be able to take care of threats without specials. And when you need to use specials to take care of specific threats, like stingers that spawn, they'll be able to do it. So this kind of as a caveat with knowing that your group will be able to back you up even with or without specials. But I think a good mindset is going with the notion that, especially with a broken comp like this, use specials to push score rather than preventing a bad situation. Ideally, you can do both, but this is something to keep in mind. Let's continue. Oh hell yeah, we got the triple G charger with the blast.
But we didn't optimize it that well. Could have been
nice
more.
And then the one rapid.
Could have been in the high 60s. It's in a different spawn right now. Oh, dang. Why do we get a shore spawn? Nasty. Oh no, I realized what I did wrong.
Nice. All right, let's talk about this wave. There is a couple things I want to talk about, and you probably already know some of them that I'm going to talk about. But let's go back and rewind a little bit. Also, what happened to the gameplay here?
Oh,
worked.
I believe the stream wasn't able to capture it, so don't worry about that. If part of that results screen kind of.
Yeah, no, that was just a buffer issue on my end.
No, it also came when I downloaded downloaded from Twitch too. So it's just a stream problem. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Anyway, Yeah, this wave played out. There was some pretty bad RNG. That's all I can say. But there was also a couple of things that we could talk about that this wave. There's some of them will overlap with some of the things we covered, but it's good to just reinforce that concept too, so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. So let's continue. Let's start. Okay, number one here. You know the Snatcher was there, you didn't kill it. You could have killed it. And in fact, it actually got away with that one egg. So let's take a rewind again and take a look there. So here's the classic, we took three, there was a group of 2-3 eggs, so we took 2-2 instead of 1-3. This is what happens when you do that. Because you leave one Snatcher each, and then we suddenly got a bad eel spawn, and then we just lost that egg because the eel got in the way, and then you just didn't take care of the Snatcher afterwards. So hopefully you can kind of see where I'm coming from when it comes to managing eggs. How important it is to make sure you grab the cluster of 3 first instead of grabbing like 2 and 2, because ultimately that will impact the bottom line. So let's take a look here. Here's that bad eel spawn that happened. And then here you took a while to kill that eel, which is understandable. But there you see that the Snatcher was laughing. At that point, it was going to get away immediately. You have to kill it on that spot or just be super confident in your aim to shoot at it. But the problem is you didn't even do that. So you just kind of let the Snatcher do its thing, and it got away as a result. So that's already one egg loss as a result, which I don't think I even saw until that happened. Also, we both missed our bomb throw, I believe. Wait, let me see what happened here. Yeah, this is another one of those, like, I think you tried to throw a bomb earlier and then you fell down, you tried to react fast enough to correct it, but then it didn't happen. So that's just a technical error you did there. But we already know you have that kind of issue when it comes to lining up bombs, so sometimes just take a little bit extra, like, hair of a second to make sure you're ready before you throw it. Anyway, that's not much that's just the same thing we already know. But however, here, I wonder why you shot the car instead of throwing the bomb at the fly fish, because we knew the cycle was coming in. You could have stopped it instead of letting it throw 4 missiles in. So let's take a look at it again. So here, you killed that, you got an egg, which is fine. Now here, you saw the cycle was firing at this point. Like, understandably, you probably couldn't have stopped the cycle from happening if you even threw a bomb here. But then you decided to shoot the car that came instead, because you already were looking at the fly fish. So I was wondering, why did you shoot the car? And you didn't even just shoot it once. You shot it 4 times. 1, 2, 3. Like, there was little reason to shoot it 4 times, because if you shoot it once and it was already moving, you know it's going to look at you.
Oh, I believe I was trying to aim for the weak point because someone already took aggro, but as you see, I missed.
No, but this is the thing. That doesn't make any sense. The aggro didn't happen yet. You shot it 4 times before the aggro happened, so there was no reason to do that. If you were going to try to take aggro, you shoot it once, then throw the bomb. That's what I'm getting at. So there was zero rational reason to shoot it 4 times is what I'm trying to get at. I hope you're trying to understand where I'm coming from here.
All right.
So let's rewind it a little bit so you can kind of see where I'm coming from here. Okay, so here's that fly fish. You were looking at it, so you were definitely aware it's about to shoot. Here, suddenly, car. It was still moving. You shot it, like, granted, yes, it did look at someone else, but you shouldn't have still shot it 4 times. Maybe you shot it once and see that it was going to look there, then you shoot it 3 more times. But here, what I would have done is I shoot it once, throw the bomb at the fly fish, then come back and look at the car. Instead, you shot the car 4 times, which was not really a rational thing to do. That's why I kind of need to question, what were you thinking at this time? And then when you explain it to me, oh, you saw the car stop and you shot at it, that's not what happened. Maybe your brain was processing it a little bit differently at that time, but something to just kind of think about. Sometimes you have to kind of think a little bit further than that. So here was a kind of irrational move that you made here, and it's understandable. These things happen, right? But that's why I want to ask you, like, what were you thinking at this time? Because maybe you saw something that you were not, but then that led to an irrational decision as a result, because then you shot the car 4 times and you had no ink to deal with the fly fish, which you already knew was firing before this. Let's continue. So here, then you try to deal with the fly fish, which at least you got to throw at that time. Well, there, Nick dies, which, oh well. And then here's where we start getting some pretty nasty RNG when it comes to the fly fishes, and at least you stepped up to the plate to deal with them. And then unfortunately we got a little bit more awful spawns here. Now there, minor thing, you could have dropped down and got the egg. I would have done that actually, surprising enough, before instead of taking an extra shot there. It's a very minor thing. It won't really impact the bottom line. But if you're thinking about how to maximize the eggs, it's something to think about. Just take a look back here. Also, one other thing here, it was super risky for you to backpedal here because you knew missiles were coming. This could have sniped you easily out of the air. I was actually worried that was going to happen when you were doing that. So just try to be careful when it comes to dealing with fly fishes.
I was rather concerned.
We don't even think about that. Yes, I do the same thing. Sometimes I autopilot and I make that same mistake. But just be careful, especially if you know missiles are coming. Don't be very careful about backpedaling.
so
Usually,
like,
always curve it if you have to, like make like a C shape and go off to the side. But I would never backtrace. If you backtrace, that's just asking to die, like a chance to die, and don't leave it a chance.
Oh, for me, like grabbing that fly fish egg while attacking
Yeah. Okay, so
the
here
weak
you
side.
shot the fly fish, right? Here you shot it once, twice, but then you went backwards again. That's what I mean by backtracing. Instead, you should have gone left. I know you were trying to line up your shot here, but you can still get the shot going to the left. It's a more difficult shot, I understand, but sometimes you got to make the hard shots. That's how you become a better player. Continue. Now here, again, I will grab the egg by going down instead of taking an extra shot. Because now you see there's that kind of one egg standing there. Here, this is where we got that awful RNG. And if you were noticing that, you would have popped the inkjet way sooner instead of now, but now is also not that bad of an idea because you got the cycles. So this didn't really make or break the egg play at the end of the day. And there you saw there's that third flyfish that spawned, and we're just like, what the hell? And then
That's the last wave.
Occurred. Okay, so that time you shot the car once, so that time you did it right. And then this is where the concern started. Well, hold on, what happened here? What the hell?
Twitch sometimes do that. Be careful.
What the hell, Twitch?
Yeah, it's a bit weird sometimes.
Okay, let me see if I can get back to that area where I was getting to. Fast forward. Okay, here. Okay, we see that third flyfish spawn. Here you're killing lessers. There was poor project prioritization. There was little reason to stun the car. You shot it once, which was the right move, but then you knew you had to kill the flyfish, so you should have thrown the bomb first before you stunned the car. That was a technical error.
Oh, so that's how I wasn't able to get that bomb in.
That was the technical error. And yes, that happened earlier in the wave too. And like I said, this is this learning experience. You get better as you see this, but hopefully by me analyzing it this way, you kind of see where I'm coming from now. Okay, so let's take a step back and see that again. Okay, so here you hear the car coming, you stun it once, which is fine. You were aiming at the flyfish, but then you turned and shot the car 3 more times, which led you to not have to aim. And then it led you for that to happen, and that was pretty much a mistake, a technical error. And then here we're just trying to do our best to run eggs at this point.
Just like not committing to the flyfish, basically, essentially.
Maybe my thought process of trying to fit in the flyfish kind of stopped my egg momentum in the end. I could kind of see where that's going.
Okay, I'm going to like just refresh it because it's doing that weird, the Twitch is doing that stupid thing, so I have to kill it. I want to go back to the stats screen because I know you guys ultimately want to see like what happened in that game with stats wise. Oh no, is it still doing that thing?
Yeah, that's why I said it's just my live stream. Don't worry about it. It just kind of stopped all of a sudden.
Oh, so it's like on your end here. Okay, well, this was our 194 game, so that means, I mean, I don't want to point it out, but this could have been like 196, or, I honestly, I don't even try to see it this way, because at the end, 200 or not, it's like just a good score at the end for me, and it's just money, so at the end of the day, getting over 200 is nice. but hopefully you start to see what really holds a group from achieving that. We have the capability to do it. It's just a matter of can we roll the dice well enough, and this is the case of the dice going our way to an extent. Granted, honestly, the first wave you need either fog or seeking to break that 68 cap to have a really good chance to consistently get over 200. But the fact that we got wave 1 cannons was kind of a bummer because we only got 50 eggs, and that it could have been like fog or something is what I'm saying. But like I said, at the end of the day, Salmon run high score, getting up 200 is pretty much about rolling dice, because your ultimate cap is only 198 on all 3 Noir waves. 60 plus 66 plus 72 was 198. You're not going to break 200 without a special wave. So keep that in mind.
I do remember on the 9th and 10th group, the 9th and 10th group was not in the right dock spawns, aka the egg area where the that last fly fish was. That was group 8. Group 9 and 10 don't have anything spawning over there, so I felt like that was like the perfect opportunity to grab those eggs. That's why you kind of see me dissuading that, but I guess I was kind of bad at soloing them all.
Yeah. Alright. Well, at the end of the day, like I said, I don't really try to play to min and max too much. I'd rather just play because I focus on my own gameplay and element, and I try to mesh it well with the group. I'm also positive you guys do the same, because at the end of the day, if you guys, obviously there's enough interest from you and Keels and Mick to want to see what we could have done better, so that's why I'm sitting down and doing this, and obviously this generated enough other interest for the other population to check out like what's going on that I'm doing this. And I'm very thankful for everyone that tuned in today, and for Mina for setting this up, because I can definitely tell you right now, we went through a lot of trouble to get this working, and I appreciate all of you that decided to swing on by tonight to make this and hang out and maybe learn a thing or two about this. And again, this would haven't really even been possible. There was a lot of back-end stuff that we all had to sacrifice to make this kind of stuff work, and like I said, I'm very appreciative for all of us that managed to make it work out, because believe it or not, even organizing this was a kind of a pain in the ass. But ultimately, I can say...
I got out of work early.
Ultimately, I just want to say, at the end of the day, I'm very thankful for you guys for tuning in, for you guys just being here to listen in, to check it out.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys learn a thing or two here, and hopefully this will be able to let you better your gameplay for next time, and hopefully even if you walk away with learning one new thing, one new tactic from what I see, then that's all I can ask for.
Dusty.
Anyway,
I definitely did.
Are we
I
looking
learned
through some more of our top scores?
sorry, what were you saying? Yeah, I was going to continue. I don't know how much of this we want to do. I know we
gotta do that fog wave. I love that one a lot. We almost hit max.
I don't remember which wave that is. I was just going to go order because that was easier.
Fourth game, wave 2. I love that one a lot.
I honestly, I just want to kind of save the next session for Saturday. If you guys still have interest to kind of see this, because we were originally going to break this into 2 groups, which is 1 2-hour session today, which we already went for 2.5 hours, and then just another session on Saturday. Because originally this was planned to only meet on Saturday, and then we managed to squeeze this in on a weekday, where most of us still are working normal jobs. I mean, should I continue, or do you want to be doing something else? Is what I'm wondering.
I personally think that this is like very informative, and it helps like most of us here quite a bit. So I personally would say keep going, but it depends on what like.
Is everyone still gonna be awake for another hour?
Another question is, Mick originally needed to go to sleep because I'm pretty sure it's like ass o'clock at this hour over there. But
Mick is like up late.
Hopefully we woke you up. Inform me enough to keep you up.
Wait a minute, Mick.
Like,
you stayed up late night
maybe.
grinding with us on this. You gotta peer pressure right now.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. People are also talking about playing Salmon Run, which it's kind of tempting, and I'm wondering like, hey, if we have enough people here, like, should we just jump in and like maybe you can see how I play as well? Because I know that might be a rare occurrence of seeing like maybe my perspective of how I prioritize things. Especially since Mick is capturing probably my gameplay as a result if I do it that way. And live com, I don't know about that. Maybe I will mostly be
live
memeing
commentary.
when it comes to gameplay.
I don't think.
Honestly, we're probably going to be memeing if we're VC. We're going to be VCing if we end up playing, but we're going to likely be memeing. We're not even going to be really talking about the game. You might sneak that in from time to time, but I don't know.
I don't feel like our voice chat is at the level where like we can do like hard call outs and focus on the game at the same time. I
can't do that at all.
So
yeah, me too.
I have to focus.
I think I can do it, but
on the voice and the audio cues at the same time.
Honestly, usually I'm just like I play just to talk about other stuff. To be honest, I don't even really talk about the game minus the random mall that spawns, and maybe towers. That's pretty much about it.
Malls and stingers. That's it.
I'm pretty much just like, hey, it's a mall. It's on this guy. Hey, look, it's a tower. It's a tower. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like, what do you guys feel? Do you guys feel like we can continue? Because at the end of the day, I know I originally did say I want to do that, and it's already 8:30. I still have one more work day tomorrow. There's stuff I also need to get done. There's also suddenly enough people here to do your own thing.
That's
so
a lot of people.
I'd say that it's up to you, Dusty. If you would like to stop, then go for it. But yeah.
Let me see. It's 8:30 on the East Coast right now. If I need to do this, do that. Let me check something real quick.
All right.
Okay, let's do this then. I'm going to actually stop now. I want to resume on Saturday. I think that's a better way to go about it.
What
so
time?
that way you give you guys a chance to maybe implement some of the things we talked about in your gameplay so you guys can try to form groups. But the question is, I don't remember what time on Saturday we said we were going to meet. I know I wrote this down somewhere in their server.
It's just same time as today. Like
I thought we could do earlier.
6 p.m. No?
Didn't we say we could do earlier though?
Yeah, I have a day off on Saturday, so my time.
I think I recall it was coming down to what Killer Heel's schedule was at the end. Killer Heel's when?
I could do the same time on Saturday.
Didn't we say we were going to start at like 3 p.m. or something? I don't remember. Was that it? Or
I don't
3
think
p.m.
so.
my time because I live in West Coast.
So that's like
6 p.m. for you.
2 p.m. CST.
do you want to just aim to meet around the same time again then?
Yeah, I could do it.
5
and
p.m.
Mina?
CST?
Sorry, what were you
I get out
saying?
of work early on Saturday, so it's fine.
Mick and Mina?
That's fine by me.
Okay, so
I could do it anytime.
well.
So just holler out the time and I'll be there.
okay. Well, that's the problem. The problem is we have Kels is
yeah.
still working. We can't just suddenly do it when she's at work because
True.
since she is part of the group, she is going to be the most like the people that are most involved with the team that we are playing right now. I want to prioritize making sure their schedule works out. I'm actually very surprised by the turnout. Actually, I'm very thankful for all the people that decided to show up here, and I'm actually very shocked. It's like pretty amazing to see everyone suddenly in one place doing this. To be honest, it's actually kind of shocking and amazing.
I'd say that there's like a ton of interest for this stuff, like, but we just
Dude,
haven't had like a
did you
central
see
place
how-
to gather.
Did you see how it like capped up to like 50 viewers at one point? That was pretty cool.
Honestly, I don't even know if it did that, but if it did, that's awesome. At the end, I say we can expect this to happen on this channel again. Yeah, around this time, I'd say would be good. I should say around this time, but let's say 46 minus like 30 minutes or 45 hours from now ish, we will be doing this on Saturday. So let's aim to do that, and we can continue with what we did here. And it will be kind of a little bit more of a latency gameplay because you'll probably have improved because you played for the next 48 hours effectively before we jumped in again. You'll have approached the game again at a different angle at that as a result. In terms of the community spread out, I think the issue is there's kind of a problem with either someone having a central hub and conflict of interest with, okay, are they actually going to do the right thing? And I think time and time again we've seen that in the community, and that's a very difficult thing to balance out simply because we don't get paid to do this. And that's pretty much the issue here is there's no market really for this kind of stuff. We kind of do this because it's kind of for the enjoyment of being with each other and just for the betterment of that. It's not like it's an actual like job where we're signed up to give this kind of lecture. We're kind of just doing it for the central hub for everything, and that's just unfortunately the nature of this thing, and that's why it lacks that. Because at the end of the day, the person with the central hub, people also end up doing a lot of the back end stuff to make this stuff work out too. Like, I can't stress this enough. You have no idea how much stuff happens even prior to this kind of stuff leading up to it. How much even marketing, how much social stuff that we're talking about. A lot of the stuff goes out to make this possible at the end of the day. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's just because you guys are also here makes it also just that more worth it because you guys want to like see what's going on and whatnot. So at the end of the day, that's all I can really ask for. So with that, I think it's the best place to really call it for this, and we can continue our analysis. Like, I'll hold on to this clip in particular because if it showcases those waves, and then maybe we can also just take a look at some of the other waves. But I think at this point, the only waves that will be worth covering are the special waves that didn't occur. But really, at the end of the day, I'd rather be covering the scenarios that occur in front of me, because this will be better to see how to handle the scenarios thrown at you and kind of have an idea when something else occurs, how you'll be ready for them. Because at the end of the day, special waves, right? You kind of have a textbook answer of what you're going to do, and it doesn't matter execution, but the game can still throw a wrench at you and tell you, okay, too bad, you got to do it this way now. And we have to be flexible enough to know how to suddenly deal with it. And that's really much how Salmon Run occurs, is building that consistency. So when finally you have that under your belt and the good waves line up, you'll be ready to take advantage of it.
Seth is asking if like you would upload these
Oh,
to YouTube
sure.
at all.
I could upload it to my YouTube channel then, Seth. I probably have to think about how to title the video, because that's the important part when people are trying to search for it.
Yeah, and I'll be able to look back in 10 years and see like all the stupid shit I said. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, we can criticize our stuff in like a year or
So
two. It's
mean,
like,
Dusty.
wow, all this talk is
I can't believe I said this time with such bad advice.
They're so outdated.
Yes.
Professor Dusty's lecture.
Dusty's cringe compilations. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm going to wrap it up here. I think some people are actually already playing here. So if you guys are looking to form groups, what better time than to form them now? Because there are currently like 10 billion people in this call right now. And I think there are some people already playing with even some people in the chat right now. Just form groups and just go out there and do your thing.
Don't be afraid to comment about things that was like, what could this part be better or not? Don't be afraid.
Honestly, when you look at video reviews, I can do that, but when you're playing the game, you can't be thinking about, I could have done this. Most of the time, you just do it, and then you question it later. Like, then you look back. Usually, it's when you die. When you die, you're just like, oh my god, what could I have done? But in the heat of the moment, you're just constantly thinking about, okay, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
So,
because
honestly,
very fast-paced.
Yeah, what makes sense is things just happen too quick.
You have
for you to
only
do
have
that.
a split second to figure out what you're going to do, and
And it's difficult. Like, I'm pretty sure all the things I call out on Mina are things she was thinking at the moment. Like, okay, this is what I was going to do. But hopefully, by highlighting some of the things that could be different, you can see, okay, this is how you could approach it should the scenario arise again. Because I guarantee you that's pretty much what it is. At some point, is a scenario that occurs, and you're like, hey, I've seen this before, and I'm just going to do it this way. That's pretty much it. Now, also, final disclaimer, these are squad tactics, because someone mentioned freelance. Freelance has a very different tactic when it comes to execution. One is you're mostly trying to only play up to quota. You're not trying to play to get 40 or 50 eggs. So you're going to do strats to help you survive. Things like hanging back, standing around on safe spots. You're not going to really be trying to push a score. You're just going to be trying to get quota and survive. Because you don't know if your teammates are going to suddenly just die. In squads, it's different. Squads, you have to put some trust in the group and know, hey, this guy is good at doing this, and I'm going to be pushing for that at the end of the day. And that's all I can really say.
And
just keep that in mind.
A lot of trouble with Sir to actually trust my teammates.
So at the end of the day, something to keep that in mind. Also, I didn't realize that I was getting pop-up messages on my stuff, so I'm going to actually end the stream share because privacy issues. We can still talk, but I didn't realize that was occurring.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Otherwise, if anyone has any final questions, feel free to ask away. Otherwise, I think it's pretty much, we're going to wrap it up. And I'll see you guys in 45 hours about at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop for now and probably play some freelance. So I'll see you guys later.
Oh no, you're playing freelance. You're supposed to be playing squads. Your first mistake was playing freelance.
I have no like squad to play with right now.
What is
We have 10 people in the call.
What is this?
Well,
rotation?
I mean, there's no one offering, so you know. I'll just play and do.
I mean, half you guys are muted anyway, so they can't even reply to you. But the stream can't see that.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'll just play, and if someone says something, then I'll join them. That's usually how it goes. But yeah.
I would join, but to be honest, I actually have stuff I need to do, and I already invested in. I actually got out of work like 5 minutes prior to the start time.
Oh yeah, dude.
To do this.
Hi, Dusty.
No, I'm going to do what I need to do first, and if I have time later tonight, I'll consider it. But right now, there's some things I have to take care of in real life, and by the time I come back, I'll probably be very late. So it's up in the air. I can't promise you that, but if I come back and it just so happens that free time, I'll message you. How about that?
Okay.
But yeah, I'm gonna see you guys later. So bye bye.
All right, Spots. Good luck. And again, I hope everyone finds this informative. I'll see you guys in 45 hours. And
thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. See you on Saturday.
Dusty.
Have a nice night.
by seeing you guys mean that you're actually playing Salmon right now, so nice try.
What? You want? Should I?
Yeah, you're actually playing Wahahaha.
No, let me take a break before I even play more.
What we talked about.
I'll stop the stream and then I'll might play.
No. You see, that's not how it works. We have 37 viewers here that wants to see how to put in what you learned from me. They want to see what you changed. They want to see.
Also.
Wow. Let me go eat then. Jeez.
Wait, hold on. You can't just leave Mick and Kimchi and Nova hanging like this. They want to play.
No, do not. Wow, you guys. Really? Right now?
Mina, go eat.
I'll stop the stream now. Stop teasing me.
But go ahead and do that. At the end of the day, what do we say at the end? Like, comment, subscribe? I don't think that's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Wrong channel. All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Yeah. All right. See you guys. Take care. Thanks for watching,
everyone.